If I'm being honest, I almost didn't make this. I sat down, read the comic, made the script, and almost decided not to bother going through with it. But there were two things that made me decide against it. The first is that I just love the series so much. Uh, After I reread Tong, I then reread Go 2 and 3 and finished Tong again as well. And the only thing that's really left to reread is Doko Rewind, which I'll get around to, but that's like 273 chapters, so. And now I'm also reading through Blood Rain. And just as I go, I just can't help but mentally catalog every single little detail that I noticed. Things that I noticed before, things that connect differently now that there is new material, things that reconnect now that I've reread it back to back once again. And that brings me to the second reason. The reason why I even started with Doko to begin with is just because I wanted to. I felt like I needed something to do, and I noticed there was just no information about this series on YouTube. There's a Wikipedia page, but there's not much to it. So I figured, since I, read these stories over and over again, just for the hell of it, why not go ahead and, just put it on YouTube myself? People say, if you don't like this or that, just go do it yourself. Well, that's what I did. That's what I'm doing. So, after putting in some time and thinking, am I even going to bother finishing the series? I probably will, just because I enjoy it. And, ultimately, I started this for myself to just have something to do. So, there's no reason to stop. I guess that's really all there is to it. All right, so we're back with Moriocho Radio for Tong. This is one of my favorite series, second only to Doko. And that's mainly because Doko just has I suppose more aim, with Kang Hyuk going in for, a very specific purpose, whereas with Lee Jung Woo, he just kind of goes with the flow. You'll see that. However, character-wise, I don't like Lee Jung Woo any less than Kang Hyuk. But I don't like Kang Hyuk any more than Lee Jung Woo. They're not that different. You see, they're both the stoic type. However, where they differ is, I suppose, just how they operate. Maybe because Lee Jung Woo is an only child, but he isn't looking to protect anybody. He's not that guy. You got to look out. You got to look out for yourself with him. And if you can't do that, well, that's on you. But in some ways, Kang Hyuk wasn't so different once upon a time. But that's another story, after all. So, with that, let's get into Tong. And hopefully you enjoy it as much as I have for the 10th time. No one could have predicted it. But the day Lee Jung Woo stepped into Dong Jin High School, his destiny would change. Although he was the strongest in his old town, he was still just a normal high school student. But after an encounter with the boss, Kim In-bum, his entire path will take a detour into a deadly world, dragging in those around him as he tries to rise to the height of the Korean underworld. As the head of the Do-hyun-pa, Lee Jung-woo takes over the Chan-li-pa and topples the Dong-hai-pa to become the top of Seoul and all of Korea. But before he became known as the first fist of Seoul, it all started that day at Dong Jin High School. A school linked to the J-Sik Group, an organization that was originally under the umbrella of Hwanggang Industries as a subsidiary, now part of the Dong-hae Group. Kim In-bum is a recruit for the organization, currently being scouted from Dong Jin High School, which is known for producing students who join the Korean underworld. And so, that's where our story begins. In the middle of another story. As Kim Jong-il directs Lee Jung Woo to Dong Jin High School, He has no idea just who this youngster is or will become. Just as Lee Jung Woo has no idea who Kim Jong-il is, or what he will one day go on to do. But today, we're not going to see Kang Hyuk in Pyeongtae-jin. Today is the day we meet Lee Jung Woo. The Tong. What's the Tong? That's slang for the best. Lee Jung Woo has transferred to Dong Jin High School. He's moved here to Seoul from Busan, which is roughly 2 to 3 hours away, a town on the southern coast of the Korean peninsula, far away from the capital and the North Korean border. Jung Woo is a boy from the city by the sea, like myself. As Lee Jung Woo introduces himself to the class, he scopes out the situation, and at the same time, his new classmates also lock their eyes on him. It seems like a simple greeting, but the moment sets the tone. When Jung Woo doesn't respectfully greet his classmates, it's a notice. He's letting them know that he's not here to bow his head to anyone, and they pick up on it. Not long into his day, someone lets him know that they got the message. They attempt to bully Jung Woo, but he doesn't lose his cool. It's not time to go to work yet. And getting hit with a piece of paper is certainly no reason to go crazy. He keeps his cool even after his lunch is knocked onto the floor. It's no problem to buy another lunch. Jung Woo's family is actually wealthy. There's no story of poverty pushing him to be tough. He didn't become strong because of bullying or bad environment. He's just a born warrior. And this is put to the test when the bully confronts him directly. This is what Jung Woo was waiting for. Small provocations won't get him to react emotionally. It's no big deal to shrug it off, because he can take care of it later. But if you confront him directly, he deals with you. And with the onlookers locking their eyes onto the situation, he won't allow himself to look weak. So, the response is immediate, violent, and to put a cherry on top, degrading. Jung Woo puts the would-be bully in his place in front of everyone, letting them know what can happen to them if they act up. And without going too far, according to me, he then goes about his business. This wasn't a major event for him. It was just a hiccup to be dealt with. But that doesn't mean this is where it ends. He catches the eye of the class boss, the biggest boy in class. But he doesn't make a move as Lee Jung Woo exits the room. This school isn't the only one of its sort. There are a number of school-based gangs, some of which, like Dong Jin High, are recruiting grounds for organized crime groups in the area. After all, everyone has to start somewhere. Students in their first year are recruited into the school gang against their will. Refusal results in a beating and isolation from the general group, which is preferable to people who simply don't want to be involved in crime. Transfer students are a different story. The ones who don't look worth recruiting are simply ignored or become fodder for bullies. But the strong ones are usually ganged up on by the other students and may be recruited in the following year. It's a surprisingly rigid structure for a high school-based organization. But this is them prepping for their future as criminals, I suppose. Though there aren't a lot of schools still doing this, there are still a few. And apparently the school Jung Woo is now in isn't much different from his old school, since they both used this system of recruitment. And that's how Kim Jin Woo enters the story. But that's later. Lee Jung Woo soon meets with the class boss, who, despite his imposing size and his status as the head of the class, greets Jung Woo cordially. extending a hand, giving his name. Young Jung Hyun. He's tall enough to look down at Jung Woo, and about twice as wide. He apologizes for the earlier bullying, letting Jung Woo know that it was his order, done to test Jung Woo's mettle, to see if that tough look was real. Jung Woo is standoffish, but asks if Jung Hyun has something to say. When Jung Hyun tells him that he wants to tell him on the rooftop, Jung Woo doesn't hesitate, telling him to lead the way. He doesn't have any fear or concern about what's waiting for him. He meets any challenge head on, and that's when we learn what the word means. When Jung Hyun asks if Jung Woo was the best in his hometown of Busan, Jung Woo replies simply, "I was the Tong." This seems to be slang local to his hometown, as Jung Hyun is unfamiliar with the term. When they arrive at the rooftop, there's a circle of 9 boys, and with Jung Hyun standing behind him, that makes 10. 9 standing and 1 sitting in the middle. Jung Woo marks him as the leader and approaches him to ask directly. And it doesn't take a moment before he makes that clear on his own terms. He doesn't answer Jung Woo's question directly. Instead, he compliments him and tells him to join his circle. This is Kim Min-bum, the one who played mediator to the fight between Pyo Tae-jin and Kim Jong-il against the 3-man group. He and Jong-il have a history, having fought before, when Jong-il was still attending Ki-chun High, another school in the area with a school gang. Lee Jung Woo isn't someone meant to be under anyone's umbrella. He balks at In-bum's command to join the circle. I extended you a hand, and you refuse? We can't just let that pass. This puts In-bum in the position of having to save face. But once again, this is what Jung Woo is all about. The numbers don't shake him in the slightest. He simply tells them, "Come!" and readies himself for the oncoming violence. Except the violence will all be controlled by him. Even if you make the first move, you're within Jung Woo's sphere, and only the best are welcome. All others are summarily executed upon entry. The first to make an attempt becomes an example instead. Lee Jung Woo's heel cracks him in the chin like a strike of lightning. Before he even realizes what's happened, he's out of the fight. The upper ranks immediately take notice, and while Kim In-bum and Young Jung Hyun can't quite believe their eyes, Tae-han's expression is different, as one who felt that sudden onset of violence. It isn't until the first attacker sinks to the ground, slumped to his knees, that Kim In-bum comes to his senses, ordering the remaining onlookers to stop onlooking and get to work. But instead, they just get worked. Pause. They can't land a hit on Jung Woo, and adversely, every hit he throws lands exactly where he wants. He employs tactics made for brawling, using his enemy's momentum against them, as well as their clothing. After knocking down 3 more opponents, he closes in on the remaining students, who stand there in shock at the turn of events. The fact of the matter is, the numbers don't mean anything when everyone adds up to garbage. With 3 more down, the last of the underlings attempts to swing at Jung Woo with a weapon. So naturally, he gets the worst treatment of all. After a quick jab to knock him off balance and shock his senses, Jung Woo flips him onto the ground. And as he looks Kim In-bum and the others in the face, he breaks his enemy's arm without hesitation. Jung Woo sees Tae-han, the last underling standing, completely break in spirit, and decides it's time to leave. Kim In-bum doesn't move. He just keeps smiling and enjoying his lollipop, as if this was no sweat to him. But Jung Hyun's friendly demeanor is gone as he steps in front of Jung Woo when he attempts to exit. The air between them is thick, but neither man makes a move. Jung Hyun isn't just large, but he also isn't reckless. He doesn't make a move without the boss say so, and the boss tells him that Jung Woo is free to go. thoroughly impressed with the display. Jung Hyun moves aside for Lee Jung Woo, and as he does, I myself want to make one thing very clear. Jung Hyun is not afraid at all. Trust me on that. But that's the first day at a new school. My teachers were complaining because I insulted some kid's mom on my first day as a transfer student. Maybe I should have just done this instead. The next time we see Lee Jung Woo, it's a few days later. The students at school stay out of his way when he walks the hall. They're not just avoidant, they're clearly nervous. But one student approaches Jung Woo in an attempt to be friends. He's a weak-looking guy with a nervous demeanor. He isn't approaching Jung Woo simply because he wants to be friends. Jung Woo doesn't look like he plays a lot of Dragon Quest, to be honest. And this isn't lost on Jung Woo either. He knows why someone like this is approaching him. He tells him outright, "Get stronger on your own." The boy mopes off. But what Jung Woo told him is correct. You need to carry your own weight through life. People can help lighten the load, but no one worth a damn is going to carry you everywhere. They'll be too busy making their own moves. Later on that day, the very same student is being bullied by Taehan, seemingly just for talking to Jung Woo. It seems his attempt at making a tough friend wasn't only noticed by Jung Woo. Taehan takes the opportunity to do this while Jung Woo's in the bathroom. However, it isn't long before Jung Woo makes his way back. He just watches along with everyone else though, silently judging the boy for putting up with it. The idea that not everyone is like him is still a bit too much to process, I suppose. But when something unexpected happens, it changes his mind. The boy begins to cry. But as he does, he speaks up for himself, saying he's sick of this treatment. Even talking back is an act of defiance. He knows that talking back will just make the beating worse, but he just can't take it anymore. This takes Taehan and Jung Woo by surprise. And as Taehan prepares to swing a chair at the kid, he's stopped in his tracks, with the classroom door opening with clear aggression. And for him, it's the worst case scenario, as he looks over to find Jung Woo standing in that very doorway. A guy he knows doesn't like him, as well as being a guy he knows he can't beat. That's for damn sure. But behind Taehan is the main man of the class, Yoon Jung Hyun, watching silently. Is he the one behind this? One would have to assume, since it all happens on his say-so. And as Jung Woo takes control of the situation, he makes note of that as well. However, before anything jumps off, the class bell rings, giving the underlings an excuse not to get their asses whipped. From a window on the third floor, In Bum has a view into that very classroom where Lee Jung Woo just put people on notice. His own underling tries to make a suggestion, but In Bum gives him a swift reminder of the hierarchy for his trouble, and then immediately follows his advice, which the underling notes under his breath. Kim In Bum isn't a benevolent leader. An iron fist is required in the world he's decided to enter. No doubt, he himself has received such lessons once upon a time. A note is being passed among the members of the circle. They'll be gathering tonight. Kim In Bum has decided to move on Lee Jung Woo. Yoon Jung Hyun gets the news and approaches Lee Jung Woo directly as the head of his class, and the head of the first years in total. He and Jung Woo banter back and forth, taunting one another. But Jung Hyun tells Jung Woo that this time he'll be facing Kim In Bum himself, not just the underlings. But this makes no difference to Lee Jung Woo. As the students gather in what looks like a parking garage, In Bum is sitting once again, this time with a fishing rod and a bucket of water, enjoying some leisure time, perhaps trying to seem whimsical and unbothered. Jung Woo didn't come to fish, though. According to him, the only thing Kim In Bum is about to catch is a serious case of hands. Jung Woo is in a stance before In Bum can even stand up. But he tries his hand once again at recruiting Jung Woo. It seems he recognizes his worth. Inbum's recruitment tactics aren't all that unfamiliar. Whether it's gangs or military service, lost young men without any clear view of the future are always easy targets. I know. They tried to recruit me for the Marines several times. And hey, if that's your thing, cool. But me, I only like being told what to do by pretty women. And maybe Jung Woo feels the same, because he isn't buying what Kim In Bum is selling, even though he admits that the man makes some good points. It isn't because he's against the notion. It's because he didn't come here to be recruited. He came here because you keep thinking you can tell him what to do in any manner. Jung Woo isn't going for it. He isn't joining your circle. Things are a little different this time, though. There aren't just more people than there were on the rooftop. There's more arsenal. No, not the football team. Weapons. These students are packed, and every one of them is waiting for Inbum's order. And once he gives it, they move without hesitation. But so does Jung Woo. Jung Woo finds himself in a brawl once again. But it isn't just a brawl. Kim In Bum moves in, and after he pulls something from behind his back, he takes a swipe at Jung Woo and knocks him off his feet as he dodges. Jung Woo is back up and ready to fight in no time. But Kim In Bum points Jung Woo's attention towards his freshly wounded leg. Just beneath his foot, a pool of blood begins to form. The situation has grown much more serious. In Bum notes that there's no such thing as fighting unfairly in the streets. And if you know me, you know I agree. Me and In Bum are on the same page. Jung Woo realizes that In Bum pulling a knife means he must feel backed into a corner. But the reality is, at this moment, Jung Woo is the one backed into a corner. Yun Jung Hyun's expression says he doesn't agree though. He stands back as In Bum gives the command to crush Lee Jung Woo. And as others move in, Jung Woo fends them off. However, his injury is preventing him from fighting properly, and worse yet, he's losing blood. Jung Woo, realizing he needs to escape, shows off his inhuman agility as he drops the student to his knees with a kick to his stomach. Then he uses that same kid as a springboard to hop over the crowd and makes a beeline straight for the exit. In Bum commands them to continue chasing Jung Woo, and the chase continues through the night streets. As he runs along, a couple of people appear in his way, forcing him to take a sharp turn into an alleyway rather than lose speed trying to move around them. As he runs along, however, he finds himself being yanked into an alleyway. And as he looks up to see who it is, Yun Jung Hyun is directing others away from Lee Jung Woo. He tells Jung Woo that he didn't think it was right to gang up on one person with weapons, showing a more honorable side than Kim In Bum. Perhaps there's a 2-year gap between them that erased that level of naivety in Kim In Bum. Or maybe he was just never that way. Jung Woo vows to repay Jung Hyun as he exits the scene. Kim In Bum curses his men for letting Jung Woo escape, not knowing that one of them literally let him escape. He assumes that Jung Woo will back down after this and tells Jung Hyun to inform him if and when Lee Jung Woo returns to class. Jung Woo, meanwhile, is forced to take a seat because of the loss of blood. He takes accountability for not considering that Kim In Bum could be armed, quickly learning from the situation, rather than allowing it to shake him in any way. While he sits down in an alleyway, Jung Woo is approached by a young woman wearing a hoodie. She shows concern for him as her friend arrives on the scene. The two women banter back and forth about the situation, but ultimately she decides to help Lee Jung Woo, taking him back to her apartment to bandage him up, while also allowing him to rest there for the night when he passes out. This is foolish, honestly, but also a truly kind thing to do. And if more people were that kind, maybe it wouldn't seem so foolish. But here we are. I'm digressing yet again. Lee Jung Woo awakens in the apartment of this strange woman. He takes his leave without saying anything, but he does give a gesture of appreciation before leaving, bowing his head in respect. It might not seem like much, but if you've been paying attention, Lee Jung Woo has a teenager's pride. Bowing his head to a woman is probably something he wouldn't normally do. But, as he does, her friend doesn't seem impressed, thinking that Jung Woo sees himself as high and mighty. I don't know how she could get that from that. The other woman, however, has a different impression, looking at Jung Woo as manly and strong, which is just about the highest compliment you can give a teenage boy. As we move forward, we see a call come in to someone. He's receiving a call from Lee Jung Woo, who he seems glad to hear from. He's also surprised that Lee Jung Woo has lost, stating that Lee Jung Woo has never lost a fight before. Interesting. He doesn't act as if this is the first time he's lost. Perhaps because it took several people to force him to flee. It eases the situation for him. But regardless, it doesn't make him hesitate. He calls in troops to even the odds, and they agree to it without question. But only after wrapping up some business of their own. The situation Lee Jung Woo left in Busan wasn't any different. However, what has changed is that the guy who was running the third years at his school left to join an official organized crime group. I guess that could be seen as graduating early for him, but more importantly, this is where we first hear the name Kim Jin Woo, who's also currently in Seoul as he trains as an understudy with a local group. Once it's decided, Lee Jung Woo gives the command. Obliterate them. He's finna get his Exodia on. After the conversation, Lee Jung Woo heads to school without stopping at home. The teacher notices his state, no bag and bloody clothes, and deduces that Jung Woo was in a fight. He tells him to come to his office after class, and as Jung Woo heads to his seat, Taehan shoots him a smirk, assured that he's safe. Niggas love talking shit when they feel safe. But he's wrong. As soon as class ends, the teacher leaves for his office, where he awaits Jung Woo. But before Jung Woo heads off, he runs up on Taehan, and as Taehan barks with no bite, Jung Woo grabs Taehan by his hair and tosses him out of his seat. Taehan's chair follows him, and as he's flinched up, Jung Woo grabs his collar to let him know, "I'll teach you the price of angering me soon." And then he heads off to the office for one of those really annoying talks where a teacher tries to get through to you. As the teacher questions Jung Woo, the young man answers directly and honestly. He doesn't bother lying because what the fuck does he need to lie for? But for some people, everything is a problem. Another teacher sticks his nose into the conversation and slaps Jung Woo in the back of the head. Jung Woo doesn't pay him any mind, as the other teacher, Mr. Kang, tells him that he has the situation handled. Jung Woo identifies the interloper as the student dean, Kim Sang-chul, the type of teacher who annoys me most, frankly. He doesn't care about students, just how he looks, always trying to assert authority in a place where he feels safe. I've got a personal problem with people like him. He even tries to get Jung Woo to tell him who he was in a fight with. But Jung Woo doesn't give him anything, and excuses himself to go to class. Immediately after that meeting, Jung Woo heads to the third-year classroom floor, where he heads to Kim In-bum's class. And there, he finds Jung Tae-soo, In-bum's right-hand man, and he puts him on notice, telling him what to tell In-bum, who isn't in school today. All the surrounding upperclassmen egg Tae-soo on to fight Jung Woo, while never actually stepping forward to do it themselves. But the young man is in the same boat as they are. The one that Jung Woo will capsize if he tries to stand up in it. Jung Woo makes his exit, as Tae-soo gapes at his sweaty palm. The boys from Busan arrive for the rumble, greeted by Lee Jung Woo at the station. They traveled far for a fight, so it better be a good one. They'd come with 11 people total, evening out the numbers for the fight, and without hesitation, they head to battle. Do-hyun doesn't seem to like the air in Seoul. Perhaps the smell of the sea is what makes him feel comfortable. New York City smells entirely like pee, so when I first tasted fresh air, I was confused. maybe this is the inverse. Just to keep things clear, the B-Tribe jackets that several of the young men are wearing are not gang jackets. B-Tribe refers to the artist, Baek Sung-hoon, who does the art for all the main series in the Memeverse, where these stories take place. At the same time, Kim In-bum leads his own troops into battle. As they exit school, some of them have no problem mentioning that they're uncomfortable with the situation. Lee Jung Woo is just that dangerous to them. To cast aside one's pride as a teenage man and admit fear is not something you just do, especially in a group. But Kim In-bum thinks this is just another high school fight. He isn't taking it seriously. He's an up-and-coming mafioso after all. Except Lee Jung Woo doesn't fuck around. He plans on making an example of In-bum. The enemy shows up in force. All the students came armed. But this doesn't faze the boys from Busan. In fact, it just amps them up. Do-hyun himself says he'll take 5 guys on his own, but another friend says that they only need to beat 1 to 2 people each, and then says that he'll take 3 and Do-hyun can take 2. They're not taking these guys seriously at all. Maybe the fact that the Dong Jin guys showed up with that many in number and armed to the teeth actually gives them an aura of fear rather than the threat they hope to be seen as. But, as usual, Jung Woo isn't with the banter. He tells them that they're talking too much, and they agree, as Do-hyun strikes first. Kim In-bum spits out his lollipop, noting that he's not only taking this seriously now, but that he also plans to fight himself. As he gives the command, his men charge forward, but they're met with brutal resistance, as Jung Woo and his friends handle them with ease, with one exception being Yeon Jung-hyun, who pulls Do-hyun's attention to himself and calls him in for a one-on-one. Neither is able to land a definitive hit as the fray continues. But the real standout, as always, is Lee Jung Woo. That same agility he used to escape serves a different purpose now, getting him close to Kim In-bum while wasting as little energy as possible. Sadly, for the leader of Dong Jin High, he's absolutely no match for Lee Jung Woo, and he must have known this, since he never stepped forward to put him down. Instead, Jung Woo came to him, got in his space, and completely dismantled him in only a few blows. What we get next from Jung Woo is an interesting display. He seems intent on embarrassing Kim In-bum. This is without a doubt to put him in a place where he will understand that he needs to leave Jung Woo alone. But Kim In-bum still has his pride, which according to Jung Woo means he didn't hit him enough. Respect went out the window a few days ago. But someone calls in a favor, putting his own respect on the line for Kim In-bum. Yeon Jung-hyun steps forward, asking Lee Jung Woo not to wound Kim In-bum's pride the way he intends to, even getting on his knees to properly ask the favor. This isn't him backing down, but asking a favor from someone who he himself saved a few days prior. Jung-hyun holds a lot of respect for In-bum and his position, but as I said before, do not take Jung-hyun's actions as fear, because he tells Jung Woo that if he refuses the favor, he will fight him to save In-bum. A noteworthy admission of respect. And now, in this moment, that same respect is born between Jung-hyun and Jung Woo. Lee Jung Woo sees Yeon Jung-hyun not as someone surrendering, but as a real man who looks out for the people close to him. Jung-hyun doesn't impress only Jung Woo but all the boys from Busan, as Do-hyun openly praises him. And so, Lee Jung Woo accepts this favor and tells Jung-hyun to rise from his knees, to accept the payment of his debt as a man. The two have earned each other's respect mutually at this point, and mine as well. What Jung-hyun did is not easy, but the people close to you should come before your pride. One might say they should even be the reason for it. But before anyone can really take in the moment, sirens ring out, disrupting the battle and sending everyone from Dong Jin running, except for Kim In-bum and Jung Hyun. Jung Woo also stays, but unlike the leader of Dong Jin High, boys from Busan don't go anywhere, staying leisurely to chat about the situation. They're not worried, and Jung Woo tells Jung Hyun to take In-bum and go. The two young men take off and stop nearby to rest. In-bum makes note that the only one who stayed with him was Jung Hyun, feeling that his time as boss is over. Kim In-bum, though he has the qualities for leadership, admits that he fears the guys coming up under him, hence why he rules with an iron fist. He says that Jung Woo is the one who deserves to run the school, all based on the moment that just passed. He's perceptive and level-headed even in a moment of defeat, but more importantly, he's honest with himself and others. As it turns out, however, it wasn't the police, but a woman with a fake siren. The same woman from the other night who helped Jung Woo, though they don't seem to recognize each other. As Do Hyun acts like she's under threat, Jung Woo makes it clear that she's not, and tells Do Hyun to stop saying weird things and let her go. She scampers off with that feminine run. You know, the thing they do with their hands up. And I have the same question as Do Hyun. Why do they always run away like that? But at the moment she leaves, Jung Woo finally remembers her. But that's the end of things here. We move forward a few days. Now that things have settled, Jung Hyun and Lee Jung Woo have become friends. On top of that, Jung Woo now controls the first years, having proven himself as the strongest in the school. But that isn't good enough for everyone. The average upperclassmen come to seek him out, demanding that he pay respects. They aren't thugs or sports players or important. They're literally just older, and they think that entitles them to respect. But you don't get respect from Jung Woo unless you earn it. In fact, these two kind of look like Ko Tae-hoon and Jong Il-han. The sudden appearance of the upperclassmen and their demand for undue respect causes an incident not just with the students but the teachers as well. As that one annoying piece of crap appears and attempts to throw his weight around, like most men with no real power. I hate people like this if you haven't noticed. That aside, Jung Woo realizes that he'll need to pull Kim In-bum over to his side in order to keep the upperclassmen in line. Hierarchy is a very big deal in Korean society. If someone is older than you have to defer to them, unless you hold a higher position than they do, such as being at the company longer, or being a manager who happens to be younger than someone working under you. It tends to be strict and rigid, and people like Lee Jung Woo who disrupt that system are a problem to people whose respect and influence lie within it, such as upperclassmen who wouldn't dare try that bullshit with Kim In-bum, suddenly trying to throw their weight around with a student simply because he's in a lower grade. It's the perfect system to adhere to, if you're a bitch-ass nigga. Lee Jung Woo goes to visit Kim In-bum, who's laying in the hospital after the beating he took. Considering he was only hit a few times, I have to ask just how hard Lee Jung Woo hits in general. His small frame doesn't reflect his striking power. He moves fast and hits with astounding accuracy. He can generate an amazing amount of power in a simple spin, and before you realize his back is turned, he's already completed the move. But he has his flaws, as we'll come to see. When they arrive at the hospital, we're given the pleasure of meeting Kim Jin-woo for the first time. A man with a creepy demeanor who always has a smile on his face. When Lee Jung-woo and Kim Jin-woo meet face to face once again, they immediately recognize each other, with Jin-woo referring to him as disrespectful first-year Lee Jung-woo. Though they speak cordially, they aren't friends, and it's during the conversation that Kim Jin-woo's expression becomes oddly stable, as if he isn't out of his mind, but yet still with a cold, calculating look. His usually narrowed eyes now widened in Jung-woo's direction. He states that he doesn't like the effect that Jung Woo has had on In-bum since the two have started interacting. And just like that, he immediately goes back to his normal expression. Jung Woo notes that he's insane and brushes him off. Jung Woo then talks to In-bum about getting his blessing as the head of Dong Jin High. This would keep the third years from acting up, which allows Jung Woo to avoid unnecessary trouble. However, trouble is the only thing waiting. Kim In-bum tells Jung Woo that if he wants what he's asking for, he'll need to perform a task first. Simply beating Kim In-bum isn't enough, and on top of that, receiving any favors from In-bum means he'll need to meet the boss. Because as it turns out, that boss already has his eyes on Lee Jung Woo, no doubt due to Kim In-bum's interactions with him. He tells Jung Woo that the alliance they had with another school was broken when In-bum was admitted to the hospital. They must have considered him weak. Now they'll see why he was admitted to the hospital in the first place. However, unlike the all-boys Dong Jin High, this school is co-ed, and so both the male and female heads must be taken out. And as a final condition, In-bum says that Lee Jung Woo has to handle everything on his own. The next day, as Lee Jung Woo and Yeon Jung Hyun pass Kang Hyuk and Pyo Tae Jin on the street, they discuss what they're walking into. As they enter the school, Jung Woo notices the terrain. He's already analyzing how to handle the fight. But that brings us to the current problem, finding the head and starting the fight. Luckily, however, because of Jung Hyun's position, he's familiar with the members in the school's delinquent circle, and when he recognizes one of them, Jung Woo attacks him to draw out the school's thugs. Right there on school grounds, just past the front gate. Lee Jung Woo is doing an old school high school raid. I haven't seen one of those since Suzuran raided Hosen way back when. But when Mitsuhashi and company charged into Akihisa and made it out alive after taking out the leadership, that was goddamn amazing. Maybe one day I'll tell you about it. However, this is during school hours. All the students are around. Plenty of people are watching. And so that draws the attention of the baseball team. Oddly enough, they seem to take it personally that someone feels that they can come to their school and start shit. This causes Jung Hyun to step into the fray. Jung Woo's job was to deal with the delinquents. If normal students step in, then it's fine for Jung Hyun to do so as well. The two fight together until the leader finally appears, Lee Young Soo. He commands the group to gather, as he says he'll also go himself. But it's not like his presence will make any difference. He was never on In-bum's level, and the only reason he's the head of his school is because he goes to a different school than Kim In-bum. Lee Young Soo is taken out in one move, executed in spectacular fashion, and then the two make their escape before the police arrive. After that, they go enjoy a meal at Masita Chicken, where a familiar face brings a meal, as two more familiar faces dine in the background. Their actions have made the news as well, where yet another familiar face talks to the camera. The problem is that they've been marked as cutting class. Jung Woo's homeroom teacher is on his case. Now they'll have to deal with that going forward. For now, however, they enjoy their meal, as Lee Jung Woo ensures that whatever punishment is awaiting them is nothing to worry about. Jung Hyun picks up on Jung Woo's undeniable charisma, feeling that if Jung Woo says it, then it must be true. On top of all that, a local all-girls high school has requested a meeting with Lee Jung Woo to form an alliance. It's surprising to Jung Woo that they requested to see him and not In-bum. But the news about Jung Woo defeating the school's circle has spread fast, and so Jung Woo agrees to the meeting. But before that, there's the next day at school to get through. As the school day begins, the homeroom teacher calls Lee Jung Woo and Yeon Jung Hyun to the front of the class, with a lot of aggression he would never show them after they graduate, when they don't have to worry about consequences within the school. Similar to the other bag of crap, the homeroom teacher is another guy who likes to throw his weight around. Undoubtedly because that's the same thing he went through with his own teachers. Being better never crossed his mind. Why not just be the same piece of shit? As he attempts to enforce corporal punishment, he's given the reminder that teenagers are not just larger children, but pre-men. And these two are both younger and stronger than himself. However, they are also still students, so they can't just act however they want, according to society. I didn't feel that way at all, and if you knew me from 15 to 25, you know I mean it. Jung Woo stops him from striking Jung Hyun by reminding him that corporal punishment is now illegal. But that just puts his eyes on Jung Woo, who says he'll take the punishment for Jung Hyun instead, even getting into position. But as the teacher attempts to strike him, Jung Hyun steps forward, catching the baton and reminding the teacher of what Jung Woo just said, before forcing the baton back and throwing the teacher off balance. Unfortunately, that happens just as the concerned teacher opens the door, and he's not happy about it. This is all just more hassle for Jung Woo rather than anything to be concerned about. High school is temporary after all. However, he is shocked when the teacher slaps him for his shy answer. It wasn't just a strike of anger or an attempt to assert dominance. He is genuinely concerned for Jung Woo and slaps him in an attempt to get him to wake up from his rebellious nature. Not the best way to go about it, but hey, he was clearly running out of options. Before they go to the office, Jung Woo approaches the student who was being bullied earlier, addressing him by his name, Kim Sung-tae, asking him about the teacher, whose name we learn is Kang Dok-jong. He tells him that he's a good person and one of the only real teachers. But Jung Woo is skeptical. He can't believe there's such a thing. And at that age, I probably felt the same for the most part. But when Sung-tae mentions that the only person who calls the class rep by his name, Yang Young-soo, it seems to give Jung Woo a different impression. It's a small thing, but that's just it. That small detail is something the other teachers would most likely not care about. To them, a student is just another face to forget. But in the teacher's office, things are much calmer. After apologizing and offering them coffee, the teacher gives a similar talk to Jung Woo and Jung Hyun about their future that Kim In Bum did. However, with much more hope, rather than the reality that they live in. Neither of them are studious, and Jung Woo in particular isn't made for a regular job. Jung Woo really isn't buying into any of this because he knows that himself. And what Kim In Bum said to him made a lot more sense. He doesn't like rules, he's good with his hands, and he's not very studious. These are general driving factors for the kind of path he's heading down. But the teacher is determined. He isn't just an authority figure appointed by the state, but a man who genuinely wants his students to succeed and live fulfilling lives. But did he get through to Jung Woo? Not really. But that doesn't mean he's given up. A real teacher never would. Mine didn't, and I appreciate them for it. It's easy to get lost in the overwhelming flow of the world as a young man with no clear goals or path. As they exit the office, Jung Woo tells Jung Hyun not to be fooled by sweet words. Jung Hyun himself seems uncertain, and truth be told, that uncertainty is why I don't think he's cut out to be a gangster. It's not a path you can question. You need to be sure of it every step of the way, no matter how much of your life it wastes. Because if you quit, why did you ever start? And whoever you crossed, they might not be so ready to move on. We find out during this walk that Jung Hyun was actually a judoka in elementary school, but quit after getting a 1-year suspension when he put his hands on a referee. Just outside the school gates, the girls are waiting. Kim Bo Young has come along with 2 other girls to meet Lee Jung Woo. They head to Masita Chicken to eat and discuss plans. As it turns out, Kim Bo Young is a 3rd-year repeater. She's actually 3 years older than Jung Woo, who is 17, and a year older than Hyuk, who is 19, and also eating nearby with Tae Jin. The two agree to an alliance, with the condition being that Kim Bo Young must take out Ha Hyun Mi, the female head of Urim High, the group they just beat. Lee Jung Woo doesn't want to hit a woman. At the hospital, Jung Woo meets with In Bum to discuss current events, after which Kim In Bum decides it's time to take Lee Jung Woo to meet the organization's chairman, his boss. He's initiating Lee Jung Woo into the underworld and handing over all responsibility of the job to him as well. However, Jung Woo refuses. He says that In Bum is the one who can handle it. The level of trust surprises In Bum, and Kim Jin Woo, who also happens to be nearby, makes a snide remark, while brushing it off as if he were talking to his game. As Lee Jung Woo and company move to exit, we see that Jung Woo's red jacket has the same serial number as the Red Zaku piloted by the legendary Shah A's novel, The Red Comet. When Jung Woo says that his loyalty is to Kim In Bum and not the chairman, this makes In Bum slightly nervous. The thing I mentioned earlier about hierarchy, well, as it turns out, the underworld is no different when it comes to that. But it seems that In Bum didn't take Jung Woo's nature into account. Perhaps because they've had limited interactions thus far, most of which involved violence. But right now, as they exit the room, Lee Jung Woo starts really feeling himself. His star is on the rise. But what goes up must come down, they say. Spinning wheel, round and round. As the next day begins, we see a new student teacher introducing herself, Yeon Jung-im, the same woman who helped Jung Woo the other night. She's been preparing for this job for the past few days, while having no idea that the student she helped was also attending the school. The two of them recognize each other, and this seems to make Jung Woo nervous, as it puts eyes on him when she acknowledges him. As a bad boy sitting in the back of class, it's certainly not good for your image to be thought of as friendly with a teacher. I would know. I often sat in the back of class, hands in pockets, if I bothered to show up. She learns his name and is quite friendly, paying no mind to his stoic demeanor. Maybe she never knew anyone like this during high school, or maybe she's just writing it off as teenage angst. But the fact is, this is just who this guy is. Serious, 97% of the time. Jung Woo reminds her of the fact that she's a student teacher and not an actual teacher. Just to be a dick, I imagine. But she brushes it off with a joke. At that point, Jung Hyun lets him know that they'll have to meet with the chairman tonight. While Kim In Bum waits for them outside of the hospital, Kim Jin Woo pulls up, nearly running Kim In Bum over while saying it was just a prank. I'll be honest with you here. In case you're wondering, Kim In Bum can't beat Kim Jin Woo. They then move to pick up Lee Jung Woo and Jung Hyun. But before meeting the chairman, they have to first take part in a raid on an enemy office. Kim Jin Woo shows his real face for the first time. He's excited for the violence. While the chairman and his men are gathered outside, the young men arrive. But Kim Jin Woo once again shows his true colors. Completely ignoring the chairman and entering the building. He attacks without waiting for backup or any worry of being hurt. He also wears a pair of gloves with nails in the knuckles, which adds a slicing effect to his strikes as well. It's not until a body comes crashing through the window from a floor above them that the men outside get the order to move. Kim Jin Woo is really in his element here, looking positively ecstatic. However, in the chaos, one of the enemies attempts to escape by leaping from the window. When he hits the ground and begins running, Kim Jin Woo shouts from the window to Lee Jung Woo. As he flees, he notices Lee Jung Woo, who is casually waiting in the car. He underestimates him because he looks young. But Jung Woo isn't the one trying to run away, is he? And Lee Jung Woo lets the man see the difference between them, as his signature spin kick drops him on the spot. Lee Jung Woo got out of the car and put a man down without even saying it, making a lasting impression on everyone nearby, but most notably, the chairman himself, Young Jae-sik. The chairman leaves the cleanup duty to his main man, Jang Sung-tae, a man who has clearly seen action. He complies as young Jae-sik leaves with the students to get acquainted with Lee Jung Woo and welcome him into the fold. He's found himself a promising young recruit. They arrive at the nightclub Arabia, where young Jae-sik holds court and runs his territory. Lee Jung Woo's calm and casual demeanor impresses young Jae-sik. He says Lee Jung Woo is a real man despite his age. The fact that Jung Woo doesn't shrink in his presence is notable. But the reality is, Jung Woo just isn't interested in this sort of thing. All that formality and structure. But the tone changes when Lee Jung Woo is given the choice. Walk away now, or become part of the organization for the remainder of your life. Young Jae-sik even sweetens the deal, offering to erase any criminal records and list Jung Woo as ineligible for the military. A big deal, since every male is required to enter military service in South Korea. Lee Jung Woo makes his decision on the spot. He decides to join the organization. He's given a cell phone, and the meeting ends. He and Kim Jin-woo have a short chat about their future. The night has ended before Jung Woo has the opportunity to head home, so instead, he heads to school so he can sleep there. He's pretty nonchalant about it. It's here that he encounters the student teacher again. They end up in a confrontation. She's trying to get closer to him. She's a naive type. She's under the impression that she can change a student like Jung Woo and open him up to the world. But he just isn't interested in it. Ultimately, he shouts at her when he ends up annoyed. This leads to her running off crying as students enter the class. But no one dares to say anything. We're then treated to Lee Jung Woo's less pleasant traits, as he tears up a handwritten note she left in his desk. That's his prerogative. But then he asks to see another student's letter and then casually tosses it to the floor after reading it. I'll admit that this is one of my least favorite moments. It's a bit out of character. He doesn't usually make a point of treating weaker people so poorly. But this is also the first time we've seen him annoyed and unable to respond with pure violence. I get the impression that Jung Woo feels his back is up against the wall on this one, and now he's taking it out on this poor kid. Even if he were the type to fight, would this really be worth the trouble? It's such a petty and disrespectful thing that one might feel it is. But he's also Lee Jung Woo. There are some people who just get away with shit like that. If I seem upset about it, it's because I know his true character. And looking back at this moment, I feel these actions are beneath him. As we move into the lunch period, however, Kim In-bum meets with Lee Jung Woo to let him know that they'll be going to war soon. Not the students of Dong Jin High, but the members of the Jae-sik group. And of course, the student teacher decides to make herself part of the conversation. And while I understand her good intentions, maybe stop sticking your nose into everything. Young Jae-sik calls Lee Jung Woo while she's standing there. He's being called in. He's already being called into the office by the boss. As he moves to leave, the student teacher continues to make her attempts to get close to Jung Woo. He starts to question her sanity. After the morning cry, he's caught off guard by her brazen actions. After this, Jae-sik's right-hand man pulls up to the school to pick up Jung Woo for his meeting with the chairman. During the meeting, the chairman hands over 10 million won to Lee Jung Woo. This money is to be distributed among the circle members within Dong Jin High, similar to the system at Taesan High, but without the collection of money from the school's students. The circle members here are basically interns for the organization. This amount of money doesn't make Jung Woo budge. He accepts it calmly and without fuss. This seems to make Jang Sung-tae nervous. Perhaps he sees what Lee Jung Woo really is. But so does Jae-sik, and he isn't sweating it at all. He praises Jung Woo and warns him of the upcoming war. He then instructs Sung-tae to take Lee Jung Woo to get a suit. For Jung Woo, things are looking good. He seems to enjoy the feeling of success within this world he's entered. At school the next day, Lee Jung Woo hands Kim In Bum the money envelope to handle as he always has. He makes good on his promise to let In Bum remain the authority within the school. Jung Woo's character shows again here. He trusts In Bum without worry of betrayal. If someone were to betray him, he'd simply handle it. Kim In Bum notes that Jung Woo is a real leader and not the type to be stuck under someone. And In Bum isn't stupid enough to not recognize that this will clash with the world that they're in. In class, Yeon Jung Hyun tells Lee Jung Woo about contact from Daishin Public High. They want to form an alliance to fight against Dangyang High and their alliance with Daeti and Kichun High. But Jung Woo declines because of the chance that he may be called into a real fight. Yeon Jung Hyun delivers the word immediately, but after school, Jung Woo is approached by students from Daishin who don't know who he is. When they attempt to pick a fight, they're called off by the leader, the one who requested the alliance, a guy repeating his second year named Jun Hyung-soo. However, when the name Lee Jung Woo rings through the air, it immediately grabs their attention. The student teacher is being a nuisance once again. That's when Hyung-soo realizes that the guy they were just talking to is Lee Jung Woo. Jung Woo tells them that there's nothing good to be gained from becoming friendly with him, a way of telling them to go about their business. Interestingly, when the three students approach, Jung Woo tells the teacher to leave and takes a protective stance without thinking. As Hyung-soo questions Jung Woo about his identity, he gains confirmation from Yeon Jung Hyun as his voice rings from behind. This only strengthens Hyung-soo's resolve. He says that it was Kim Bo-young who pointed him toward Lee Jung Woo. She seems to have a lot of faith in him from their short meeting, but that's no surprise. If Jung Woo had a female equivalent, it's Kim Bo-young. Hyung-soo continues to ask Lee Jung Woo for an alliance, but Jung Woo simply isn't interested. He tells them that, in fact, as he puts his arm around the student teacher and walks off. The onlooking students make noise about the situation as Jung Woo questions why he himself put his arm around her like that. I'll tell you why, my man. It's because you're feeling yourself. You've been blessed with so much confidence by this situation that you forgot that she was your teacher and not your woman. But she doesn't really seem to resist despite questioning the situation. After that, Hyung-soo makes a more sincere attempt. He bows down and apologizes for not recognizing Lee Jung Woo before. And while Jung Woo continues to try and brush this off, he can't overlook this sincere plea. Jung Woo instructs Jung Hyun to tell In Bum to tell everyone to help Daishin High, like a real boss. Jung Hyun has no problem complying. His respect for Jung Woo is piqued. And as Jung Woo turns to leave, he's faced with the student teacher's judgmental glare. She doesn't seem to understand that these aren't just normal students. But Jung Woo puts her on notice. And this time he walks off without putting his arm around her, leaving her standing there bothered. She isn't judging him harshly. This woman genuinely wants to help her students. But it's naive to think you can reach everyone. And maybe that realization is why so many teachers I know gave up. And why I have so much respect for the ones who didn't. Elsewhere, Yeon Jae-sik has grown impatient. He's decided to attack the High Sun group, the group they had a battle with before. He's called Jung Woo along with the Jin Woo. As they arrive at the nightclub, the gangsters charge the club and begin attacking whoever they see. Patrons clear the club as Jae-sik decides to enter. However, it's revealed to be a trap. What seemed like an advantage before quickly becomes a situation that they weren't prepared for. When his right-hand man advises him to flee, Jae-sik takes it personally and decides to enter the fight himself. As Lee Jung Woo contemplates entering the fight, Kim Jin Woo doesn't need to take that time. He charges in, laughing like a madman. It's nice to see someone who really understands himself. This is what he does. This is what he likes. Maybe he's the reincarnation of Lu Bu. The level of violence he enacts shocks Jae-sik and his mate man. Gangsters. Lee Jung Woo stands back to watch as Kim Jin Woo's presence changes the tide of battle completely. The battle reverses flow once again, and the JC group comes to take down the enemy, as Jin Woo forces his way through to the leader. When he finally catches the man, he batters him before taking him hostage and forcing his men to kneel in order to save his life. As Young Jae-sik steps forward to confront the other leader, the name Koo-in Chol is mentioned. He seems to be the man above the High Sung group. And as the opposition remains defiant, Jae-sik produces something not often seen in Korea: an arm of fire. He toys with the man a little bit, but when his right-hand man offers to take care of the job for him, Jae-sik calms him down. He isn't a hothead or a moron. He can think of other ways to use the flame. And so he does. He cripples the man, using the arm of fire to leave him with a hot shoulder and ankle, unable to ever fight again. This seems to enlighten Lee Jung Woo a bit as to what he's getting into. The JC group takes over the nightclub and tells the ousted men that Koo-in Chol will have to buy it back if he wants it. On the way out, JC chastises Jin Woo for recklessly jumping into the fight, since Jin Woo is basically on loan from Busan. It would look bad on JC if he got hurt. What he doesn't understand, however, is that Jin Woo really doesn't care. He's not going to get hurt because he'll be too busy hurting other people. On the other hand, he asks Jung Woo why he didn't step into the fight himself. Jung Woo's answer reveals who he is. He says that it seemed like they were going to win, so there was no need for him to get involved. However, what Young Jae-sik hears is that Lee Jung Woo stood back and analyzed the situation as if he himself were the boss. And his right-hand man, I don't bother memorizing this guy, seems to think that Jung Woo is being arrogant. The reality is, he's a natural leader. And it's as Kim Min-bum said earlier, he isn't the type to be undersold. The reasons why that's a problem are starting to rear their head, and they aren't the only ones who notice. As Lee Jung Woo exits, he receives a text from Yoon Jung Hyun. The fight to help out Hyung Soo of Dong Jin High has been scheduled. It's time for Jung Woo to does what Jung Woo do. As the two groups occupy the park, they stand opposite one another. Suddenly, Kim Min-bum calls out to someone, and that's when we see that Lee Jung Woo has arrived with Yoon Jung Hyun. Kim Min-bum introduces him to Jun Hyung Soo, who he has already met. That's why you guys are here, In-bum. But, alright. He then directs him to Lee Ki-ju, who is the head of Dong Jin High, a shifty-looking fellow. They inform Jung Woo of the fight setup. 3 people from each side in one-on-one fights. Whoever wins fights the next person from the other side until one side achieves 3 wins. This is to prevent an all-out rumble where a lot of people get hurt. Things like this tend to draw cops. It's how Suzuran and Hosen settled its beef when Zetun was in charge, and Hanake Guriko was the absolute strongest in that town. On their side, they've decided to send Jun Hyung Soo, a youngster named Yu Sung Ho, and then Lee Jung Woo. However, Lee Jung Woo objects and sends Kim Min-bum in his place. He's certain that In-bum is enough, and he probably is. Kim Min-bum is the guy who was in charge, and anyone would lose to Lee Jung Woo, so it's not like that makes him weak. At the same time this is happening, Jang Sung-tae tries to convince Yoon Jae-sik to discipline Lee Jung Woo for his perceived arrogance. Good luck with that. However, Yoon Jae-sik denies this because of everything happening at the moment. We find out here that the High Sung group is contacting the Yakuza for support. After some back and forth banter, the fights begin. Kim Bo-young almost steps up to Lee Ki-ju. She'll fight whether victory is assured or not. Trust me. However, a classmate calms her down. There's already an order. Yoon Jung Hyun also nearly loses his temper when Lee Ki-ju insults Lee Jung Woo. Jung Woo stops him, however. He's not easily provoked. And usually, neither is Jung Hyun. His respect for Jung Woo is just that deep. And so, as Jun Hyung Soo steps up to fight, the opposing side sends in a fighter named Yu Chul-hee, a first year from Dae High who took over the school in his first year, similar to Jung Woo. The fight is brief. Hyung-soo gains a brief advantage when Chul-hee stumbles over a rock. However, his excitement gets the better of him, and Chul-hee comes away with the win. Chul-hee is a sturdy fellow. The next to step up is Yu Sung-ho. Sung-ho is a smart fighter. He baits Chul-hee with a throwaway punch and strikes him with a chop to the throat. However, Chul-hee goes wild and begins swinging, landing a lucky punch on Sung-ho. But he makes a mistake when he grabs Sung-ho by the collar, attempting to pull him in for a finishing blow. Sung-ho uses the momentum against him and slams his head into Chul-hee's chin. He made note of Chul-hee's weakness being his chin as of the last fight. Chul-hee takes the loss, and Lee Ki-ju steps up next. Now, this is where things get a little different. Lee Ki-ju has the praise of Kim In-bum. When Lee Jung Woo asks if Ki-ju is any good, Kim In-bum says that he's top class. Sung-ho even looks a little nervous as Ki-ju approaches. And it's true, I can say for certain that Ki-ju is strong. But he's something else. Something more important. Something more sinister. Lee Ki-ju is shameless. As he dodges a punch from Sung-ho, Ki-ju scoops up a handful of dirt and throws it in the youngster's eyes. He didn't need to do that at all. But it's easier. While I praise Jung Woo for his high character, and even chastise him when he doesn't portray that, I also understand a guy like Lee Ki-ju. Why work harder when you can work smarter? But I also don't agree to one-on-one fights. If I did, I wouldn't break the rules and do something dirty like this. As they say, word is bond. So while I am shameless, I also understand why integrity matters when dealing with people. You see, Ki-ju's actions incense the crowd. Everyone's pissed. People on his side don't say anything, but those under Jung Woo make their ire clear. Everyone has the same expression. Unlike everyone else, Kim Bo-young is vocal, but Ki-ju doesn't pay them any mind. He just moves in for the kill. By the time Sung-ho clears his eyes, Ki-ju is already throwing a punch. He puts the beats on Sung-ho, and the fight ends not long after it began. The finishing blow is halted by a shout from the crowd. The next fighter is ready to step up. An enraged Kim In-bum has stood up. Ki-ju is surprised that it isn't Jung Woo, but he spoke too soon. Though Jung Woo's expression didn't change much, he didn't care for Ki-ju's actions either. This causes Kim In-bum to relax. Everyone on his side knows what it means when he steps forward. They've already won. Ki-ju awaits him, and everyone on Jung Woo's side stands up to make sure they see clearly. Ki-ju notices this and is confused. But then, Kim In-bum makes a statement. I'll bet you 10,000 won that'll beat you in 10 seconds, as he sets a timer on his phone. Ki-ju scoffs at the notion and moves in to attack. But as he does, Lee Jung Woo returns the favor on Sung-ho's behalf, slamming a handful of dirt into Ki-ju's eyes. Then, he waits. He allows Lee Ki-ju to clear his eyes, telling In-bum to pause the timer. He doesn't want any excuses when he wins. It might seem like arrogance, but that's only if you haven't been paying attention. When the timer resumes, Lee Jung Woo finishes the fight in 9.5 seconds, knocking Ki-ju out in only 2 moves. And as Ki-ju sinks to the ground, Jung Woo's supporters cheer in excitement, but the next opponent steps in immediately. He sneaks in Jung Woo's blind spot and aims a low kick for his legs, but Jung Woo leaps into the air to avoid the attack. This seems to leave him open, but just then, Yeon Jung-hyun gives a shout. Lee Jung Woo! Show them the difference in your level! And in front of the entire crowd, the difference becomes clear, as Lee Jung Woo changes momentum in the air to spin behind his opponent. He can't comprehend what just happened, but by the time he tracks his eyes to Jung Woo's new location, a foot is already slamming down onto his neck. He drops, unable to fight any longer. As the crowd looks on in amazement, Lee Jung Woo didn't just attack. He performed an aerial bombing with his own body. The opponents never stood a chance. Both Ki-ju and the new guy are down next to each other. We never even got the second guy's name, but it doesn't matter. The crowd erupts into a roar as Ki-ju comes to find himself and his cohort absolutely defeated. Jung Woo tells Hyung-soo to take care of the rest. However, before he leaves, another familiar face appears in front of him. No Jung-rae, head of Ki-chun High, and best friend of Kim Jong-il. He approaches Jung Woo with absolute respect and asks to ally with him, turning his back on Dae-T and Dae-shin High. Lee Jung Woo has swayed a powerful ally, but he still has no interest. He tells him to deal with Kim In-bum and leaves everything regarding the school to him. When Kim In-bum warns Lee Jung Woo that he could betray him if the school is left in his hands, questioning Jung Woo's decision to give him power. Jung Woo tells him that if In-bum were going to do that, he would have already. He understands In-bum's character. He's not a dishonorable man. That's why he's willing to associate with him in the first place. You should only call him to fight. That's all. And when he says move, you move. That's all he asks for in return. Jung Woo doesn't lord over people or throw his weight around to feel big. He just knocks down whatever's in front of him at the time and moves on. The reason Lee Jung Woo is strong is actually a lot more basic than anyone could have imagined. It's because he doesn't want to be bothered. He takes his leave as Kim In-bum looks on, and the day ends in victory once more. Nothing new for Lee Jung Woo. The next day at school, Yeon Jung-hyun praises Lee Jung Woo for his actions yesterday and updates him to the situation. Both Dong and Dae-T High Schools have come over to his side, bringing the entire district under Lee Jung Woo's control. But even with that in mind, he's still a student. It's any of that. Lee Jung Woo is called into the office by the adults who want to keep their school in good standing. At least, that's how he sees it. But that's not quite the case here. The student teacher, Yeon Jung-in, sits with Kang Duk-jung. Jung Woo finds him particularly annoying. He tries to get things over with as quickly as possible. However, the cordial relationship he's maintained with the student teacher rears its head, and unfortunately, at the worst time. When she speaks up, Jung Woo, without thinking, tells her to be quiet. A normal interaction for the two of them, and that's probably why most professional teachers maintain a certain boundary. This immediately draws a glare from Kang Duk-jung, and that is completely understandable, because he's that professional teacher I was talking about. Perhaps it's because she's still a young woman not much older than himself, or perhaps because she talks casually with Jung Woo, in ways a big sister might. In other ways, a little too comfortable. However, she does this with good intentions. Truly, she wants to reach students like Jung Woo, to prevent them from becoming the next Yoon Jae-sik. She requests to talk to Jung Woo privately, and the two speak in the hallway. She reprimands Jung Woo for his treatment of Teacher Kang. Jung Woo continues to be standoffish. He speaks to her disrespectfully as she questions his motives and behavior, and even his entire view of the world, telling him how hard it is to live as a normal person in society. But Jung Woo really isn't interested, as he finally reaches a breaking point and says the most disrespectful thing yet. And not only that, he even raises his hand to her, as if he's going to strike her. This catches Yeon Jung-in off guard, and she looks like she might fold. Maybe she'll run away crying again, you might think. But she doesn't. She stands firm and continues calling out Jung Woo, trying to make him understand that the path he's on isn't the right one. But you can't just talk to a rebellious teenager. They're rebellious for a reason. And the only cause for that rebellion is the exact thing you're trying to convince them is good for them. But she really unloads on him in the most insightful way possible, to a point that even teenage rebellion can't muster a defense. Jung Woo, defeated by the words of the student teacher, leaves in frustration, even admitting to himself that he didn't think he would end up facing something he couldn't overcome. The next day at school, we see that Yeon Jung is still her usual self, casually talking with Jung Woo as always. He seems confused by her demeanor, but has to admit that she's persistent. Lee Jung Woo is sent a text to be careful of Hai Sung. It would seem the enemy is now on the move. Student teacher Jung Yim appears once more to meddle, going so far as to swipe Jung Woo's phone and read his messages. And this, for me, is crossing the line. Even if we were actually close, what the fuck are you doing? Even Yeon Jung Hyun can't hide his expression with this. This lady is getting a little too friendly with the student. And I say this as someone who has romanced Kawakami twice. She'll always be my baby. But this is different, because I'm not involved. The real problem comes, however, when she reads the text Jung Woo has just received. Although the situation between them hasn't changed at the moment, Yeon Jung Yim has memorized the number the text came from, and as Lee Jung Woo returns to class, all the students are looking at him, and Jung Hyun comes out and asks outright if Jung Woo is going out with the student teacher. But Jung Woo brushes it off, acting as if she isn't important. As Jung Woo goes about his school day, the reason for the warning about Hai Sung is made clear, as Busan decides to betray Yeon Jae-sik to side with Koon Chol and make use of Hai Sung's link to the Yakuza. Kim Jin-woo was called in for this mission specifically. He has inside knowledge of the Jae-sik group after all, and even more so, he loves this kind of activity. Kim Jin-woo doesn't just look like a snake. He is one as well. And I don't trust anyone with a snake face. That's why I don't trust Taylor Swift or Benedict Cumberbatch. After school, the boys walk along. Jung Woo plays a handheld video game while walking with Yeon Jung Hyun. Jung Hyun makes fun of Jung Woo for being bad at video games, like any of us would. Lee Jung Woo then asks Jung Hyun, "Wanna die?" To which Jung Hyun replies by mimicking death. Jung Woo asks what he's doing, and Jung Hyun says, "I need to obey whatever you say. You're Lee Jung Woo, no?" As he smiles at Lee Jung Woo, they continue walking. Just a few weeks ago, these two almost came to blows. Through fighting and expressions of honorable behavior as they attempt to become men, they managed to become friends. And now, Yeon Jung Hyun willingly gives up his life for Lee Jung Woo. As they walk along, Jung Woo's guard is down for what seems like the first time. But Yeon Jung Hyun notices, and Jung Hyun calls out to Jung Woo before he pushes him to the side. Jung Woo is surprised by this, and as he looks Jung Hyun in the face, Jung Hyun smiles at him, before being struck by a jeep so hard that he flies into the air. Jung Hyun is a big boy. That car would have to be moving at a speed that was meant to kill for him to fly into the air like that. As students gather around, we see Lee Jung Woo lose his composure completely. The bravado of a teenager goes out the window in a moment like this. His friend is down, and it's not looking good. Kim Min Bum clears the crowd as he calls an ambulance, and Lee Jung Woo shouts to Jung Hyun in a panic. As this is happening, it dawns on Yeon Jae-sik that someone may come after Jung Woo, and he gives his right-hand man the order to put a couple of guards on him. But it's too late for that. Lee Jung Woo looks on as they try to hit Jung Hyun with the the chest paddles. Kim Min Bum arrives at the hospital after Lee Jung Woo. They discuss what happened back at the school, and Kim Min Bum doesn't cut any corners. He tells Lee Jung Woo that if someone is moving that fast, they had the intention to end a life. But Jung Woo doesn't seem to want to hear it. Maybe it would be too much for him right now. But then things take a turn for the worst, as the doctors stop trying to revive Yeon Jung Hyun. Lee Jung Woo reacts emotionally, asking why they're stopping, and they tell him to call Yeon Jung Hyun's guardian. The whole world seems to freeze around Jung Woo as he stands in shock, looking down at his friend. He loses his cool completely, shouting at Yun Jung Hyun, telling him to get up, reminding him of his words from earlier to obey whatever Lee Jung Woo says. But that only works if he can hear Yu Jung Woo. As Lee Jung Woo grows more and more upset, Kim Min Bum steps in to calm him down. You need to stay calm in times like these. Do you think Jung Hyun would like it if he saw you jumping mad like this? Lee Jung Woo is frozen in shock. He drops to his knees and vows revenge. Reaching for his phone, he plans to call together his high school allies. In Bum attempts to talk some sense into him, reminding him that he needs to report this to the chairman and get his approval before doing anything. But Lee Jung Woo ain't trying to hear that. That's his friend laying life is over there. And it was him they were trying to kill. The chairman is second. My loyalty to my friends is first. But that's not the world you entered, Lee Jung Woo. And though In Bum can remind him of that, no one can force Lee Jung Woo to do anything. And that includes Yoon Jae-sik. Jung Woo goes to does what Jung Woo do. As Jung Hyun's mother mourns him in a makeshift ceremony at the hospital. A quick Google search led me to this information, for those who didn't know, like myself. Korean hospitals very commonly hold funerals for accident victims, as well as those who pass away from illness. In South Korea, large general hospitals often operate their own funeral homes, serving as the primary location for wakes and funeral services, rather than using separate external funeral homes. Kim Bo-young meets Lee Jung-woo and Kim In-bum at the hospital, and they move outside to talk. Jung-woo informs her of the situation and asks her to gather everyone. She agrees without question. And finally, Lee Jung-woo agrees to go see the chairman with Kim In-bum. As they arrive at the office, Yoon Jae-sik is playing a game of Go with his main man, who throws the match. Because kissing ass is part of the game, I guess. As Jung-woo enters, the loser takes his exit, shooting Lee Jung-woo a dirty look as he leaves with his bitch ass. Lee Jung-woo approaches the boss and asks for permission to attack Hae-sung. Kim In-bum informs Jae-sik of just what's been going on throughout the day. It's been almost 6 hours since Jung Hyun was struck and sent to the hospital. And here we see that Kim In-bum was trying to give Lee Jung-woo proper guidance. Yoon Jae-sik feels like his authority and ego are being challenged when Jung-woo doesn't follow proper protocol within the gang structure. Lee Jung-woo is given a warning from Yoon Jae-sik. As it turns out, being in a gang isn't less annoying than being in school. It's just annoying in a different way. As Lee Jung-woo exits the room with Kim In-bum, he crosses path with Kim Jin-woo once again. Jin-woo just so happens to tell Jung-woo where and when he'll be able to find some people from Hae-sung on Saturday night. But this is just part of the nefarious plot from Kim Jin-woo, as he walks off with a devilish smile. Lee Jung-woo plans to gather everyone and attack Saturday, and Kim In-bum once again reminds him that this isn't a good idea. They bicker as they walk along, and then Jung-woo stops when he notices that they're being followed. Jae-sik's right-hand man has sent some guys to follow after Lee Jung-woo. Kim In-bum tries to tell him that they're guarding him, but Lee Jung-woo doesn't feel that's the case, and so he turns back to see what they want, as Kim In-bum tries to talk Lee Jung-woo down. The guys who are following him take offense that Kim In-bum seems to think that Lee Jung-woo will hurt them. That's when it's revealed that Kim In-bum has been ordered to report to Jae-sik about what Jung-woo has been doing. This catches Jung-woo off guard, but Kim In-bum tells him the truth of the matter, that he was told to report to the chairman about Lee Jung-woo's actions, and that he did as he was told. He reveals that Taehan was also ordered to report on him, which is the first time we've heard that Taehan actually has any contact with anyone above Jung Hyun. He's been absentee ever since Jung-woo took over. He also tells him that Jung Hyun refused. He was loyal through and through. It's not easy to find out this kind of thing. This angers Jung Woo. He feels like he's been played. Jung Woo grows more and more furious, and that's when he makes a move. He and In Bum were being flanked, with two guys coming from behind and two approaching from the opposite direction that they were originally walking. Jung Woo makes short work of these hardened criminals as he slips past an incoming punch and leaps off a nearby wall. He jumps past the first guy and attacks the fellow behind him with a knee to the face. Without missing a beat, he sways out of the way of an on kick and springs forward into a leaping elbow. 2 down. The third man gets hit with a move I don't even know how to properly describe. Jung Woo is innovative on the fly. He stops a punch with his left leg and throws a kick with his right so hard he knocks the man sideways. But before he can fall or even stagger, Jung Woo is spun around into the 360, and he then plants a left heel right into the man's temple, knocking him out cold. The last guy runs in. He gets the signature spin kick, with the heel planted swiftly to his chin. But he isn't done. Jung Woo rears back his right and launches a punch into the man's face. Down for the count. Jung Woo looks back at In Bum. Lee Jung Woo, murder in his eyes. Min Bum with discomfort in his. He doesn't attack him though. He's upset with In Bum, but it doesn't seem like he feels In Bum has been dishonest with him here tonight. Min Bum tells Lee Jung Woo that what he's doing is mutiny and won't be forgiven. And Lee Jung Woo's reply? I have never asked for forgiveness from anyone. And with that, he walks off, as Min Bum looks on in silence. Things are a bit tense between the two at the moment. It's been a very hectic and emotion-filled day. Jung Woo then does something unexpected. He heads to Yeon Jung Im's place and requests to stay. He knows they'll be looking for him, but he doesn't want to give Jung Im too many details for her own sake. Meanwhile, when Min Bum reports what happened to the chairman, Kim Jin-woo is also there. He feeds Yeon Jae-sik a lie to goad him into a trap formed by Koo In-chol and his boss from Busan. The trap revolves around the stolen nightclub that they fought for earlier. They're letting Jung Woo go in the meantime. But note that if he shows up to cause trouble on Saturday night, it's coitance. This makes Min Bum nervous. His loyalty to Jung Woo is real, but he was already a part of this organization when they met. It's conflicting. He can't just carelessly walk away from this, but Lee Jung Woo is a man who earned his respect and his loyalty simply by being a real friend and trusting him. They could still be enemies, but that young man, 2 years his junior, reached out to him, completed the task given, and put his trust in Min Bum at the end of it. But is that just childish? This organization is where his future lies, right? When Yeon Jung Im awakes the next day, Lee Jung Woo is gone. He left her a note saying that he won't be coming to school, and not because of studying. This causes concern, of course. But on the other end, Jung Woo is getting plenty of texts. The boss, Jin Woo, and of course, Min Bum are all reaching out to him. The boss with a threat and a promise of forgiveness. Kim Jin Woo with a false warning, as well as the info that his phone can be tracked. And In Bum telling him what the real deal is. Lucky for Jung Woo, Ponytail happens to be walking by, so he can use a phone that isn't being tracked to make a call to Do Hyun. In the meantime, Ponytail begins enjoying a lollipop, possibly to help deal with the task to quit smoking. When Jung Woo asks Do Hyun for some money, it confuses Do Hyun because Jung Woo's family is rich, which is the first time we hear that. Now, one thing I learned from playing Bully is that you can't assume a nigga can't fight just because he's rich. I ran up on Biff during my first playthrough thinking shit was sweet, and I caught every hand he threw. Some people are just born to fight, and Lee Jung Woo is just that. With that being said, Do Hyun informs Jung Woo that their friend Jung Tae was just released from juvie. At school, Yeon Jung Im talks to Kang Duk Jung about the situation with Lee Jung Woo. They're both concerned for him, But here comes that one asshole again, running his mouth. This is the worst type of person. Never mind being a teacher. Just as a person, he's worth nothing. On top of that, rumors about Jung Woo and Jung Im are spreading through the school. Because it's high school. Kim In Bum hears this from his second in command as well, and he looks at him like he's stupid. Because you should know, Kim In Bum isn't trying to hear or talk about dumb things like that. And of course, no one comes to her defense. Yoon Jung Im is alone in her current struggles. Something that happens too often to good people. As for Jung Woo, he's actually meeting up with the same friend previously mentioned. He's traveled to Seoul to see Jung Woo. He won't be going back to school, most likely. Though Jung Woo tells him he should leave, he of course doesn't. Lee Jung Woo himself doesn't understand it, but he doesn't foster the kind of personality or actions that make people want to abandon him, even if their lives are on the line. That's real leadership. And one of the things I find most interesting about leaders and loners is that they're so similar. They're just doing their own thing. Others either follow or reject it, but they're still just doing what they want to do. Yoon Jae-sik contacts Kim In Bum for information. He tells him what he knows, but that isn't much. However, this conversation draws Yoon Jung Im into the situation, who at the same time is dealing with her own situation within the school. The worthless teacher is chastising her for getting too involved with the student, and Kang Duk-jung advises her to leave, rather than confronting his coworker about what an asshole he is, because that's what society says is okay. Nothing against the guy, but you slapped Jung Woo, so why don't you speak up against that guy? You know, the one who's being an asshole. Now, what this leads to is Young Jung Im being available to grab off the street when she makes contact with the organization. She's kidnapped violently by Jang Sung-tae, who is intent on disciplining Lee Jung Woo. That's the right-hand man. I tend to remember his name randomly. Usually at the point where he stops being a minor nuisance and someone I want to put to rest myself. At the same time as all this, Jung Woo is catching up with his old friend. He's filling Jung Woo in on why he was in juvie and a few new skills while there, such as lockpicking. It seems Jung Tae himself was on the criminal path as well. When Yoon Jung Im is brought before Yoon Jae-sik, he reprimands his underling for treating her roughly, and he does so physically. Yoon Jae-sik may not be the most likable guy, but he still has his own set of rules, and he abides by them. But his right-hand man actually knows this about him. He's been with him for quite some time. He got those scars working under this man. But that's also why he takes on tasks like these, staining his own hands to keep his boss's name clean. If you're not this kind of guy, but you're in this world, you might need to keep a guy like this nearby. But at the same time, screw that guy. With Yoon Jung Im in his hands, however, Yoon Jae-sik now feels that he has room to force Lee Jung Woo's hand. He begins calling and texting him. Jung Woo will not answer, however, and instead gives the phone to his friend. Mistakes are being made across the board here, but that's usually how things get out of hand, isn't it? It's not out of hands if things are going the way they should, right? Kim In Bum has been ordered to guard Yoon Jung Im. The familiarity between them allows Jung Im to relax a bit. They discuss the current situation and things with Jung Woo. But no matter how easy he tries to make things feel, the reality is still grim. On top of that, his right-hand man is in his ear, pushing Yoon Jae-sik's back against the wall, with his men feeling he's showing Lee Jung Woo a lot of favor. As he should. They can't see how far that kid can rise. That's why they're underlings who got beat up by a 17-year-old kid without ever landing a punch. But he calls in his men to reassure them that he is still their leader. Morale, however, is still low. On top of that, Lee Jung Woo has moved toward the nightclub. He and Jung Tae attempt to infiltrate, but it's closed for the night. However, Kim Jung Woo notices Jung Tae and tells him to bring Jung Woo along. He says he'll lead the way. Kim Jin Woo appears from a doorway around the back. He leads Jung Woo into a narrow path, leaving Jung Tae behind. Now, Kim Jin Woo is aware of two things: Lee Jung Woo's skill and Lee Jung Woo's agility. But he's also aware of Lee Jung Woo's weaknesses. And as Kim Jin Woo walks along, chatting it up, Jung Woo starts to realize that what he's saying isn't meant to be in his favor. Jin Woo has brought Jung Woo here to execute him. And then it dawns on him. It was Kim Jin Woo who hit Yeon Jung Hyun with that car, which Jin Woo laughs and jokes about. Kim Jin Woo feels assured of his victory. This isn't a simple high school rumble. He's not fending off a bully or fulfilling a request. Now, for the first time, Lee Jung Woo must fight for his life. And he could not have a more dangerous opponent in that endeavor. Because Kim Jin Woo loves nothing more than he loves violence. He shatters the glass wall window nearby, providing another obstacle for Jung Woo. But it's not just the wall. There's a low ceiling as well. Jin Woo kicks Lee Jung Woo out of the air and into the glass. It shatters, and both the glass and Jung Woo hit the floor. He cuts his hand as he attempts to push himself off the ground. Jin Woo mocks him. He set this moment up perfectly. Jung Woo's agility has been sealed. This limits his current options based on the fighting style he's used so far. Jung Woo's chances of winning are very low. Between his tricks, his ability to read Jung Woo's attacks, and his capacity for violence, Kim Jin Woo has stacked the odds completely in his favor. But Jung Woo's adrenaline is up right now, and ignoring the superficial pain of a few cuts and bruises is nothing. Right now, he has the opportunity to pay back his friend Jung Hyun. There's no way he's going to let that go. As this is going on, Jung Tae realizes something is wrong, but he's been locked out of the pathway by Jin Woo. While Jung Woo is beginning to adapt to Jin Woo's erratic tactics, Jin Woo himself is more than capable of changing up on the fly. And of course, there's the factor of his unique fighting gloves. Even when dodging, you need to be careful. Jung Woo's midsection is torn open from a swing that slips through his defense. Kim Jin Woo has a bad habit of running his mouth and taking his time. He has his own weaknesses. He's become overconfident and is allowing Jung Woo too much time to gather his bearings. Although he attacks Jung Woo's fresh wound, he doesn't aim to finish the fight immediately. And the worst thing he does is tell Jung Woo what to do, stating that fighting means doing whatever it takes to win. Lee Jung Woo hears him loud and clear and takes his advice to heart. He begins to fight as if his life is on the line, and that's why Kim Jin Woo should have eliminated him sooner. Lee Jung Woo will always rise to the occasion. He goes all out. Even wounded, his speed is too much for Kim Jin Woo. On top of that, he's sharpened his movements. They're less wide, more precise, and generating more than enough power to do damage. He allows Jin Woo time to recover. He wants to demolish him and demoralize him. He wants Kim Jin Woo to be absolutely defeated by the end of this fight. No excuses, no cop-outs. He wants Kim Jin Woo to know that he's been completely outclassed by the time this fight is over. As all this is going on, Yeon Jae-sik makes his way to the club with his right-hand man. Yeah, that's right. Forgot his name again. To hell with him. What Jae-sik understands that his underlings don't is that age doesn't determine what makes someone a man, or when they become one. You could become a man at 15 if the situation calls for it. Or you could be a grown-ass boy at 45, still shouting at the camera about fighting games and being a lol cow for 15 years running. He knows that Jung Woo's capabilities aren't determined by his age, and that's part of his concern. A kid who can do anything, but still has the mind and temperament of a kid. He already has Koo In-cheol's group to deal with, and in the meantime, Kim In-bum continues to try and make Yeon Jung-im feel at ease. As the fight between Jung Woo and Jin Woo continues, Jin Woo ties his hair back to keep his vision clear. and then picks up a piece of glass to use as a weapon. He's taking this more seriously, but it's too late. Lee Jung Woo is already in top gear. Even if you get a slice or a strike here, you lost the minute he decided to fight you. Jin Woo's trick is effective once, as Jung Woo takes a hit trying to avoid the glass, but Jung Woo immediately adapts and turns the situation into a one-sided beating. Kim Jin Woo is left twitching, laying on the ground in convulsions, as Jung Woo makes his way through the entrance back to Jung Tae. And because this fight was so quiet, when Yun Jae-sik approaches the nightclub, everything seems absolutely fine from the outside. It isn't until he steps inside that he finds out from Koo In-chol that Kim Jin Woo was done in by Lee Jung Woo. Koo In-chol, being a crafty old-timer, tries to use the situation as leverage to get the nightclub returned. Yun Jae-sik still doesn't know that Busan is behind Koo In-chol now, so he believes that Jin Woo's demise is a problem. In the meantime, Jung Tae has taken Lee Jung Woo somewhere safe. While Jung Woo wants to go to a hospital, Jung Tae informs him that it's a bad idea. He takes care of the situation himself, with skills he likely learned on the inside. In the meantime, Yun Jae-sik's back is against the wall regarding Yun Jung-im, and stupidly, he's taking advice from the guy who put him in that position to begin with. The men are losing faith in Yun Jae-sik because of the way Lee Jung Woo is being handled. On top of that, there's the risk of her going to the cops. Kim In-bum is ordered to bring her to Yun Jae-sik. He does so, still believing there's nothing to worry about, even reassuring her as much. However, when Kim In-bum is told to fall in line with the others, she loses her only support, though he once again tries to reassure her. Kim In-bum himself is still a bit naive, but he probably thought better of his boss. Yun Jae-sik informs the men of the situation, and as Kim In-bum becomes confused about what the man is saying, Yun Jae-sik makes himself clear by once again producing the Arm of Fire. At this point, In-bum can no longer stand still. He challenges the chairman in front of everyone, standing between Yun Jung-im and the chairman. Is he willing to take a bullet for her? It seems like he might be. Even though the discomfort in his face is clear, he doesn't move when Yun Jae-sik points the Arm of Fire at him, until Jung-im herself gives him the word to move. But he doesn't move aside. He puts up his fists. He's willing to fight every man there to prevent this, including the one with the Arm of Fire. Kim In-bum might not make it out of here. He knows that. He's clearly uneasy. He doesn't move with the same certainty that Lee Jung Woo does. But he's still a man, and he's standing on his principles even if it costs him his life. But it doesn't. He puts up a fight, but ultimately they overwhelm him. He's a good enough fighter, but it's his charisma and smarts that pushed him to the top, not just overwhelming displays of force. When Kim In-bum goes down, Yun Jung-im speaks up before they finish him off. Her expression shows a strength of resolve. She isn't going to let Kim In-bum get done in for her, just like she won't let Lee Jung Woo do the same. Kim In-bum is dragged off, battered and bloody, and Yun Jung-im calls them all out for what they are. A bunch of gangster punks. Kim In-bum is the only man in that room, and Yun Jung-im refuses to allow Lee Jung Woo or him to be anything like them if she can help it. She says that she'll give up her life in place of Jung Woo, so that he doesn't go down this path. With tears streaming down her face, she says, "I'm fine with it." As he points the Arm of Fire at her, Yun Jae-sik asks Yun Jung-im if she's afraid. And she says, "I'm afraid. I want to beg you to let me live. I also have a family, parents that love me. However, courage isn't being unafraid. Courage is, despite being afraid, to do the right thing. Right now, I'm doing the right thing. As a teacher, I'm protecting my pupil. There's a hesitation in young Jae-sik, but he can't turn back now. He too exists in this world, and weakness means becoming prey, food. And like Sully said, I could never be food. If you don't have that mindset, you aren't cut out to be a thug, a gangster, a banger, whatever you want to call it. Your mindset must be predatory, or you will be the prey. But young Jung Im's last thoughts aren't of being food or being afraid or anything. They're of Jung Woo. She wants him to stay away from this place, from this world of punks and criminals. She believes in him, even giving up her life to display that faith. As Jung Woo rests up from his injuries, Jung Tae decides to check the phone he received from Lee Jung Woo. There are 389 missed calls and 157 text messages. Jung Tae notices that the only one who isn't threatening Lee Jung Woo is Kim In Bum and gives him a call. When Lee Jung Woo finally comes to, Jung Tae and In Bum are looking down at him. Judging by In Bum's lack of wounds or bandages, it must have been a few days. In Bum asks Lee Jung Woo why he left his phone off, and as Lee Jung Woo casually answers that he didn't want to deal with the chairman, Kim In Bum explodes, leaving Lee Jung Woo confused. And upon closer inspection, you can see Kim In Bum's face still has a few scrapes and scuffs. He then updates him to the situation, letting him know that Kim Jin Woo was reported to be gone. But more than that, he tells him about Yeon Jung-in. Until now, Lee Jung Woo has been treating the situation casually. He still doesn't seem to understand just what kind of shit he's in. He has the mindset that everything will work out because he can handle anything. But what about the people around you? Jung Woo is in denial. But Kim In Bum isn't letting him slide. He's furious with Jung Woo. He tried warning him over and over, but the kid just didn't listen. Kim In Bum lost not only his projected career path, but he also nearly lost his life. But more importantly than that, he now has to carry the weight of having failed to save that woman. He's left the organization. Lee Jung Woo's actions have cost the people around him a lot, even costing Yeon Jung-in her life. And now, as we move forward, we find out that they plan on catching up with Kim In Bum as well. Yoon Jae-sik has now solidified his position as boss and plans to crush Hae-sung regardless of how Woo-san feels. Of course, Woo-san won't care about it, since they plan on taking out the Jae-sik group anyway. Now that seems like a great idea and all. What they aren't taking into account is that the Jae-sik group is backed by the Dong-hae group. And unlike Jae-sik's small-time operation, they have some heavy hitters. Most notably, a young man not much older than Lee Jung-woo. But that's later. Right now, Lee Jung-woo decides to go to school, though Kim In Bum advises against it. Jung-woo feels he has to. Before leaving, he tells Jung Tae to contact Kim Bo-young to see if the student army is still available. As Jung-woo enters the school, the students are shocked. But it's not like that matters. Along the way to his destination, he comes across the class representative Yang Young-soo. He finds out a few things from Young-soo. As it turns out, Jung-woo has been expelled due to his disappearance and all the events surrounding him. Naturally, it'd be easier for the school if he wasn't a student there anymore. And while Yang Young-soo and Lee Jung-woo haven't always seen eye to eye, there's a mutual respect shown here. Jung-woo seems to have come to appreciate people like Young-soo, who live normal lives. While Young-soo admits that while he doesn't like the way Jung-woo wields his strength, he does appreciate the fact that he isn't a punk like Taehan, who has been acting up since Jung-woo and Jeon-hyung have been absent. As they make their way to the office, Jung Tae confirms with Bo-young about the students gathering, and when Jung-woo arrives in the office, the staff is shocked. This also calls forth that one asshole, who doesn't realize that since Jung-woo isn't a student, there's little to nothing stopping him from handling business. Fortunately for him, Jung Woo is busy, so Kim In Bum takes him to the side to have a chat, while Jung Woo goes to talk with teacher Kang Dong Duk Jung. He recalls the things the man told him before now, realizing just how right he was. And as he finally approaches him, he keeps his head low and breaks down crying, as he finally acknowledges the man as his teacher. Kang Duk Jung consoles Lee Jung Woo and reassures him that his future isn't over. But he also doesn't know the gravity of the situation. So before getting his life back on track, Lee Jung Woo and Kim In Bum have business to take care of. As they exit the office, the asshole teacher becomes the bitch asshole teacher, calling the cops on Lee Jung Woo as they exit, trying to frame Lee Jung Woo as the kidnapper of Yeon Jung Hee. And of course, no one stops him or says anything because everyone just goes along to get along. It's really too bad no one gave him curtains. Jung Woo and In Bum meet up with Jung Tae once again and confirm the gathering of students. At that point, Kim In Bum tells Jung Woo about the meeting at the nightclub tomorrow night. Kim In Bum confirms that the organization has abandoned them both. And then, Lee Jung Woo calls up Yeon Jae Sik himself. He lets Jae Sik know he isn't looking for forgiveness, and he isn't giving any out either. He's coming to pay Yeon Jae Sik back for Yeon Jung Hee. The next day, the schools under Lee Jung Woo's control gathered together. Lee Ki-ju and Dong Jin High, No Jung Rae of Ki-chun High, Kim Bo-young of Baesung All-Girls High, Jun Hyung-soo of Daeshin Public Engineering, Tae-soo, Kim In Bum's right-hand man, and the students of Dong Jin High, Yu Sung-ho of Han-chung Public High, and Yu Chul-hae of Dae-ti. Even Urim Public High School's Lee Young-soo, whom Lee Jung Woo defeated weeks back, arrives. Everyone has gathered on the word of Lee Jung Woo. 145 students total. An undeniable level of charisma flows around him. With 145 on his side, and a lot less on the opponent's side, they have a clear path to victory. Lee Jung Woo addresses everyone. He tells them that their enemies are professional thugs, not just high school, and that if anyone wants to leave, now's the time. But not a single person exits. Whether it be because they're assured victory, or because they believe in Jung Woo, or maybe because they don't want to be seen as weak. Who knows? Everyone is fired up, as Jung Rae says to himself, Dokbo should be a part of something like this. Absolutely agreed. Unfortunately, Hyuk's got shit to take care of. Later that night, the meeting between Koo In-chul and Yeon Jae Sik begins. As the men stand around wearing opposing colors, making it pretty obvious that no one came here to do business. They sign papers and exchange them. Koo In-chul reads the signature from Yeon Jae Sik more carefully. This place will be your grave. Yeon Jae Sik's right hand gives the signal to attack. Koo In-chul's men are caught by surprise, but the old man isn't. He doesn't look worried at all. Yeon Jae Sik is unapologetic, but also unaware. Koo In-chul then makes a call, and the Busan gang rushes in, wearing a third color. Yeon Jae Sik's gang is now outnumbered and facing defeat. His right-hand man says they need to go, but once again, Jae Sik's pride seems to be wounded, and he himself decides to fight. But this time, there's no Kim Jin Woo to stop him. So into the fray he goes. Koo In-chul, on the other hand, he doesn't. He's pretty old. But to be honest, he doesn't strike me as the type he wouldn't have stepped into this fight even if he were 20 years younger. Some people are sly thugs, not tough thugs. As the fight inside reaches its peak, the high school alliance outside awaits, allowing the gangs to wear themselves out before rushing in to finish them off. A smart plan, Even if you have the numbers, your side consists of high school students. The men inside that room may be more willing to draw curtains on these young kids. Jung Woo's cool head allows his side to minimize both effort and losses. As the fight rages on, Young Jae-sik shows that he isn't just talk, as he moves forward, taking down enemies in his way to pay the Busan boss back for his betrayal. The Busan boss is firm in his actions, and unlike Koo In-chol, he clearly looks willing to fight. He and Jae-sik exchange fire. They seem evenly matched and equally determined, while around them the battle rages on, until both sides are equally worn out. Just outside of the nightclub Dong, the teenage army begins to move. The gangsters inside the club are taking a moment to bicker back and forth. Both sides are devastated, and then things take a turn for the worse. As the high school army moves in, there's a brief pause before Jung Woo gives the command. Slaughter them! There's no gap between the command and the charge. As soon as the period forms on Jung Woo's sentence, his soldiers are rushing in. The gangsters are caught completely off guard, as Kim In-bum singles out a target. He pays back the bitch-made nigga that snuck him from behind with the bat just before Young Jung-im's life was stolen. That guy was also beaten up by Jung Woo a few nights ago as well. And when In-bum knocks him to the side, the man is immediately swarmed by teenagers and jump. His time as a gangster has come to an end. After this, he should get a job at whatever the Korean equivalent of Walmart is. Lotmart. Get a job at Lotmart, nigga. The students are cleaning up house. The regular guys are going down easy, but the Busan boss remains defiant. It takes a crowd of teenagers to finally take him down. He definitely earned his spot as the boss, though it's probably over now. No one is spared, as Kim Bo-young yells out one of the most terrifying commands I've ever heard, proving herself once again as my favorite young woman in the series. She's 20 at this point, so I can't exactly call her a girl. It comes down to Yoon Jae-sik, who noticed Kim In-bum before anyone else. However, it's not In-bum who he has to face, and he should know that. The hoodie that Lee Jung Woo is wearing is Young Jung-im's. She wouldn't approve of this. He knows that. But he brought her along anyway. His fury is clear. However, Jang Sung-tae steps in front of Jung Woo to protect his boss. In the midst of his fury, he never saw the foot coming, and he goes down without much fuss. Or he would have. But Jung Woo isn't letting him off that easy. He knows that the real evil in this group is this man, and he proceeds to leave the right hand with less teeth than he started the day with. Lee Jung Woo talks to Yoon Jae-sik, letting him know what the situation is. Even though everyone could swarm him, Lee Jung Woo will fight him on his own. It's a habit of his when it comes to getting payback, breaking his opponent down when they're at their very best. The men who are still left standing attempt to move for Yoon Jae-sik, but the high school army is still fresh. They can only fight a losing battle here. Yoon Jae-sik lies to himself, referring to Jung Woo as an amateur, while deep down he knows Jung Woo is the absolute real deal. And Jung Woo knows this too. He tells Jae-sik to attack first, as he shows magnanimity to the weak. Jae-sik takes this act of grace and begins attacking. His movements give him away, making wide swings and telegraphing his attacks. He's lost his cool, and Jung Woo knows it. Jae-sik seems annoyed that Jung Woo is only dodging, but Jung Woo tells him to take a deep breath and calm down. Jae-sik won't be able to fight properly while overcome with emotion like he is now. Jung Woo wants him to be level-headed and to fight properly, just so he can see how useless it is. So he knows that he never had a hope to begin with, so that he can go the rest of his life knowing a 17-year-old high school student was the wall in his way. All his struggles amounted to nothing, because he falls here. As Lee Jung Woo deals with Yoon Jae-sik. The Busan boss has actually managed to keep fighting. He's now surrounded by the leaders of 3 schools and getting kicked around. Both he and Osori, the man burned by the arm of fire merely a few weeks prior, are completely done for, while Koo In-chul is surrounded by a bunch of teenagers with weapons who force him to kneel. He tries to act tough for a millisecond, but then he takes a look at the kids in front of him and thinks better of it. Yoon Jae-sik attempts to fight Jung Woo with his head cool and collected. Or so it should be. He still seems pretty worked up, but he manages to sweep Jung Woo off his feet. However, Jung Woo plants a hand on the ground and uses the momentum to throw a kick to Jae-sik's head, immediately following up with a second kick before the man can even fall over. His ability to adapt in a moment's notice is incredible, but even more incredible is his inhuman agility. As Lee Jung Woo leaps into the air, Yoon Jae-sik believes him to be completely open. He didn't see the earlier fight in the park, that's why. Because when Jung Woo kicks off his arm and flips above him, he turns around just in time to get kicked in the face really hard. Jung Woo remarks that Jae-sik is a worse fighter than Kim Jin-woo, mocking Jae-sik as he plants another blow into his stomach, a 1-inch punch. That leaves the man folded. It seems like Lee Jung Woo is leaving, but he's actually just getting some room for a running start, before leaping into a knee that slams into Jae-sik's face, sending him crashing into a table. Now backed into a corner, Yoon Jae-sik once again reveals his trump card, the Arm of Fire. These are hard to come by in Korea, if you didn't know. They use knives more than anything else. As he draws on Lee Jung Woo, Yoon Jae-sik draws the attention of Lee Jung Woo's main supporters, and worse yet, Jung Woo himself isn't shaken in the slightest. He understands the situation well, and makes it clear for Yoon Jae-sik. Should the curtain draw on Lee Jung Woo here, Yoon Jae-sik's curtains will also close immediately. Lee Jung Woo confirms this with Jung Tae, and Jung Tae isn't bluffing. Yoon Jae-sik can tell. And that's why he isn't firing. He understands Jung Woo's skill, but also his charisma as well. Still attempting to get out of the situation, he tries to bluff his way out by offering Jung Woo a bargain. But the bargains aren't his to offer. Neither is grace. Everything is in Jung Woo's hands here, including Jae-sik's life. And nothing makes this more clear than when Jung Woo puts the barrel to his own forehead to prove a point. Still thinking he can talk his way out of this, Jae-sik makes a fatal mistake. He insults Yoon Jung-in. This not only sets off Lee Jung Woo, but Kim In-bum as well. It became very personal for him that night. But this is still Lee Jung Woo's move to make. As Jae-sik runs his mouth, Lee Jung Woo turns his back and walks towards his friend. Jae-sik takes this to mean that Jung Woo is willing to let him go. But he doesn't seem to understand that when Lee Jung Woo makes distance, it's just to get a running start. He runs, jumps, and before Jae-sik can aim the arm of fire at Lee Jung Woo, he's been struck with a knee in the face and slammed back onto the table. From the looks of it, his back is now broken, and his fighting days are behind him. But that doesn't stop Lee Jung Woo from laying more punches into his face, ultimately smashing him through. Lee Jung Woo gives the order to move out. Kim In-bum mentions that the police will assume that the gangs did this to each other, so they'll be in the clear. But before he leaves, Koo In-chul speaks up and says something very, very important to Lee Jung Woo. He doesn't shy away or mince words. It's the first time he's looked so bold. He looks Lee Jung Woo directly in the eye and predicts the future. You, whether you like it or not, once you step foot in this world, you won't be able to leave. Jung Woo calls bullshit. But we'll see. For now, he's leaving the scene. Everyone is feeling pretty amped up, but the police sirens break up the after party. Nearly everyone scrambles, But the core supporters stay with Lee Jung Woo. When asked what he'll do now, Jung Woo thinks of Young Jeonyeon and says that he'll live a normal life. As they stand outside, the cops pull up and enter the club. The students are in the clear, and Lee Jung Woo and his friends have put an end to 3 criminal groups. On the news, the reports say that the gangsters were arrested after destroying each other. As Kim In-bum predicted, Yoon Jae-sik is said to be in critical condition. Jung Woo nearly closed his curtains, it seems. As we enter the Chongwon GED Center, a lovely young lady asks Lee Jung Woo if he wants to go watch a movie. He flatly refuses, as is his style, but she offers to treat him. But he only ever refused her because he has plans. Outside of the school, someone hassles Lee Jung Woo for money. Given Jung Woo's status, it's no problem to share. But what's interesting is, he just let a guy call him weakling and didn't do anything about it. Find out the young woman's name as she stops to talk to him, Lee Se-jin. We also find out that he's a dropout. Over at Masita Chicken, Jung Woo meets up with Kim In-bum, Jeon Hyung-soo, and Kim Bo-young. They chat as Kim Jong-il delivers food around the restaurant. Lee Jung Woo is living life as a normal person. A weakling, as he puts it. His name was cleared of kidnapping, because that was a stupid-ass claim to begin with. The Union of High Schools is now known as the North Seoul High Union, but all of the influential members are moving on. Only Lee Young-soo seems compelled to stay. He's said to currently be at war with a returning second year, and it's not going well for him. But the others aren't interested in recognizing anyone but Lee Jung Woo as their leader. He's become a legend in the area. But he's not the only legend hanging around right now. Jung Woo himself has no interest in talking about that life anymore. He wants to move on from the subject. And then Kim In-bum says he'll take him somewhere, while keeping it a secret. When they arrive, we find out that they're at a shrine. A picture of Yoon Jung-hyun is there, but also Yoon Jung-im. Lee Jung Woo leaves a flower and has a conversation with Yoon Jung-im. He decides to keep his past locked away. The legend of Lee Jung Woo will float in the air, but the man himself will be moving on, living a peaceful life as a normal person. Now, I just read this again, and I enjoyed it like I've never read it before. Like, this is one of my favorite series. I'm a big fan of characters who just get down to business, you know. And Jung Woo is damn near all business. You know, I've always loved movies that mix, you know, the genre of action and gangster lifestyles, and just watching a couple of guys go one-on-one, you know, just fight for their lives. Like, it never really gets old. You know, as far as I'm concerned, this is a 9 out of 10. I don't fuck what you say. Where I feel it lacks, though, is kind of in the humor department. Like, it's funny, but, you know, nothing gut busting. There's just, well, I'm not gonna say it's funny. Like, there's light humor, you know, a couple of times. It's, other than that, it moves so fast. There's not a lot of time to be funny, other than when the student teacher is, you know, just being goofy as hell. But maybe that's also another vital role that she played, is just kind of bringing some life to the series, because without it, you know, it's just a bunch of people just walking around, just mean mugging each other all day, and just playing territory grabbing games that people play in high school just for the sake of, I guess. I don't know. Well, I don't know. For them, it's not really for the sake of, because, you know, their future actually depends on this shit. So I guess it's a little different for them. But As I mentioned in Don't Go, I'm a big fan of Baek Sung Hoon's art style. There's a prequel to Blood Rain that uses a more common style, I would say, something you see in a lot of other comics. I don't know who the artist is, but he just doesn't capture the aura that these characters carry. Kim Min Kyu is in that one. Oh, you don't know who that is yet? Well, you will. But he's like the main character, or I don't know if he could be considered. Yeah, I guess so. He's at the front, and compared to how he's drawn, by Baek Sung Hoon, it's just, he just looks like some guy. He's like Triple H, you know what I mean? Like Bret Hart said, he's just a guy, and I feel like that's what Baek Sung Hoon's art really, really captures. Just aura, you know what I mean? Just danger and grit and just dangerous motherfuckers. And that's not to say that the art is bad. It's just, it's not my taste. It's too common. I don't like common things. I want something that stands out. That's it's one of the things I liked about Kyokara Orewa. Like, the art was just so goofy, and that made it stand out. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be, what contemporary standards decide is good. I just want something interesting. That's been just the struggle of my life. Unlike Kang Hyuk, you see Lee Jung Woo. Unlike that situation where Kang Hyuk had to go undercover and keep himself incognito, Jung Woo is free to be himself. Like, he doesn't have to hide who he is from the start. But the reality is that he's not really that different from Hyuk. But really drives both of them, to be strong is just different reasons. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're just people who don't want to be bothered. Like, I've never seen either of them start a fight, just finish it. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, with Hyuk, it's a little different because he did go start some fights because he was on a mission. But that's really the major difference between them. Like, Hyuk had a very particular goal in mind when we met him, and Jung Woo, he's just going with the flow of things for the most part. Like, generally, whenever he does something, it's because somebody else did something first, but then it just causes some other sort of trouble. You know what I mean? Like, they raid the school, and they even managed to get away with it, but then he's caught cutting class. He sticks up for Jung Hyun, and the teacher catches Jung Hyun throwing the other teacher back when Jung Hyun sticks up for him. It's just, he wants to go avenge his friend. His boss says no. He does what he wants. Other stuff happens. And, it's like he never really goes looking for trouble. Life just seems to clash with his headstrong nature. And that's where a weakness is sort of created. Because it affects the people around him. You know what I mean? I mean, Inbum was lucky enough to survive that situation, but that could have been two people who lost their lives that night because Jung Woo was doing what he wanted to. And, that seems fine for him because he's always been able to do that. Like, he's strong and his family's rich. But once you start caring about other people, then things like that sort of change, And it's unfortunate that, I don't know, I guess that you could say human emotion stifles him for a bit. Or, I wouldn't say human emotion, more like teenage recklessness, And now for the elephant in the room. The relationship between Lee Jung Woo and Yeon Jung Im. Now, if you were to ask me, just me personally, I think that she was definitely much too familiar with a student inside of the school. But I think that's more of a naive thing than a romantic thing. Like there's this kind of obvious overtone that makes things between them seem romantic. And I think, that's intentional. Like that's how you're going to read the situation initially. But, after rereading this over and over, I get that feeling less and less. Like she comes off more as a big sister than anything. Um, but, of course, if a woman is friendly with a man, most people, including that man, will probably assume that she wants to sleep with him. So, society, that's kind of what it's about. Like it's gonna look a certain way because you're gonna look at it a certain way. But is it actually that way? Because let's take a look at her. She was meddlesome. She lectured him all the time. She played goofy games. Just stuff that a big sister would do. She never actually came on to him. You had the one time where like he put his arm around her, but they're both like, what's going on here? And she doesn't react immediately, but truth be told, I think a lot of people might not react immediately because they just be so taken in by the moment, like what the hell's going on? And that's where they were both at, including him. Like even he was like, why am I putting my arm around her? And it was just, bro was feeling himself. Like, it is what it is. But ultimately, like she saved his life. First when he was bleeding in that alleyway, and then when she gave up her own life. You know what I mean? It might not seem like it, but she did. She didn't willingly give up her life, but she knew that doing so would push Jung Woo away from the kind of person that he was becoming. So, she faced it head on, like with guts and as much bravery as she could muster. It's just like she said, she said, I don't want to die. And I don't feel like she had to. Like, she didn't have to die at all, but that's part of the point. Like, these are bad people and this is what they do. It doesn't matter if it makes sense to you. A gangster is someone who thinks nothing of hurting other people. Jung Woo said that himself. And, when that affects him 2 times, he realizes that this isn't the life for him. And he tries to move forward. But only after some serious ass payback. Now, there's a difference between the death of Yoon Jung Hyun and Yoon Jung Im. Of course, the death of Jung Hyun affects Jung Woo. His friend died saving his life, but how could that not affect him? But rather than drive him away from the life he was living, it pushes him further into it. When Jung Hyun dies, he wants revenge. And I know what that's like. Like, my cousin is a gangbanger, and he gets jumped one day, and I see the result of that, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I want to go do something, but I'm not that guy. Like, I'm civilized. But I think if he had lost his life, there wouldn't have been any question. I'm gonna go do something because now the situation has changed. You're gonna feel like that's somebody close to me, and I'm not just gonna let that go. But thankfully, it didn't turn out that way, and it didn't turn out that way for Jung Woo because JC had an ego that was more important to him than the life of his subordinate. He was more upset that Jung Woo didn't come talk to him than he was that someone tried to kill Jung Woo and take out and took out Jung Hyun. You know what I mean? Like, that was just an afterthought for him. And so Jung Woo doesn't get to, he doesn't get the okay to take action. But if he had, then he might have gone right away, to fight somebody with that anger in his heart and his mind not clear, and he might have ended up taking someone's life, and then he's stuck on that path. There's no way out for him. Now, part of the major tragedy with Yeon Jung is that she gets caught up in this while she's just a civilian. You know, she was just trying to set Jung Woo straight, and you know, listen, I grew up in New York City. Like, I grew up in the New York City public school system, so I've had a majority share of shitty teachers. You know, a lot of aimless young women and burnt out old men. And they came in expecting some kind of TV show outcome and gave up when it got tough. Or they slowly let the system just wear them down over time. And, you know, I've had teachers like Young Jun-yi, and they're rare. Teachers who really care about you, like who really give a fuck about where you go after you leave their classroom. I've had not many, but a few. And, you know, it can change the course of your life. You know, they aren't just there to hand you curriculum and babysit. You know, if you think that's what your job as a teacher is, then stop doing it. You shouldn't do it anymore. Don't go back tomorrow. Do something else that doesn't involve ruining children, because critical thinking is almost non-existent. Like, nobody does that shit anymore. I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, you know, a good teacher can be the difference between someone living a fulfilling life or living out a life sentence. And I say this as someone who's seen both ends of it. Like, I don't think Yeon Jung-im's death was necessary. And I don't think it was a noble sacrifice either. It was pointless. She had nothing to do with anything. And the fact that there was no point kind of is the point. She was just an innocent woman trying to better the lives of her students and, you know, just society in general. Like, her intentions are genuine, and she had a good heart. Similar to Jungkook. And she had her future snatched away for some petty and stupid reason. So someone didn't look weak. If you feel like that's enough reason for someone to lose their life, then maybe that person should be you. Maybe you don't deserve to be here. You know, ultimately what she wanted was just to show Jung Woo that there are better ways to live life. That there's nothing wrong with having a fight every now and then, but when you live recklessly, the people around you, the people who have nothing to do with you, people who are just going about their day, about their lives, they're gonna get caught up in whatever BS that you have going on. So stop being an irresponsible, reckless child and grow up. Go get a job. Stop hassling other students. You know, just stop. You know, so with that understanding and very personal experiences, Lee Jung Woo is able to calm down and start living his life as a regular person. Like, ultimately, she was able to reach him, but the cost was simply too high. But the other thing to think about regarding the loss of Yeon Jung Hyun was that Lee Jung Woo didn't actually have any time to sit with his feelings, you know, until everything was over. Like, there was no inner dialogue about what he feels regarding Jung Hyun giving up his life for him. You know, the outward reaction is so extreme that there's just no time for inner thoughts. And immediately after, there's just more fighting. But this also reflects Jung Woo's character. You know, when we get his inner thoughts, it's usually a straightforward analysis of things, rather than any sort of inner feelings. He doesn't spend much time contemplating his emotions or feelings. He mostly just acts. And I suppose that's what being a teenager is like, though. Like, I never actually understood my emotions either. The only one that ever made sense was anger, because people piss me off a lot. So that's simple. That's easy to understand. But liking someone, you know, mixing their emotions with mine, and considering other people's feelings, as a teenager, whoa, that's some complex shit right there. Like that's too much. And so even now as an adult, I still have trouble understanding my emotions. So just imagine knowing, I don't know, 25 years less than I did now. Um, just 25 years less of information and experience. Yeah, and testosterone is new, so you don't know what to do with that either. Balls hurting all the time. Now, one of the things I really love is the thought that was put into Kim Min Bum's character. He carries himself like a man should, I feel. But he also understands his position as a future criminal and what it means to keep up appearances. He'll gather everyone to crush one guy because that's what a thug would do. But he won't get down on his knees and beg just because he's lost. So, while he isn't above underhanded actions, he also has pride as a leader, as a man. And he also understands that his position in the organization comes with expectations. There's no real information as of yet that tells us how Kim In Bum started on this path. But I do know that he was close with his seniors in Dong Jin High before taking over the school. That's Ryu Hee-soo and Park Pyong-chun. His role as Jung Woo's second and closest friend after Jung Hyun, after coming to Seoul, it's a vital role because there's no one with the courage to stand up to Lee Jung Woo and tell him what he needs to hear. Like Kim In Bum has no problem calling him out. He's always honest with Jung Woo. It might not seem like it, but he is. Like, he was reporting to JC because he was told to, but he never told JC anything that wasn't true. And Jung Woo also knows that Kim In Bum is part of the organization. So it's not like that's some kind of like taboo or secret. I think if anything, he's probably just upset that he didn't know. That might have made him doubt In-bum for a second. But the fact that he didn't turn on In-bum means that he believes his character to be honest, despite that slip-up. Because even in the moment, when he found out, In-bum still told him the truth. And he attacked everybody standing there but In-bum because that's his friend. And at that point, he'd already had several chances to betray Jung-woo. Like, whenever he had the chance, he would tell him, I could betray you. And one of the reasons he doesn't is because Jung-woo trusts him not to. Like, it's just an honest assessment of Kim In Bum's character. Not just a general label as a thug, but a look at the man. That's how Lee Jung Woo is able to really reach Kim In Bum and the two become friends. Like, it's important to have trust in your people as a leader. And In Bum being a leader, he was a leader himself. So he can spot those qualities in Jung Woo that make him special. But he doesn't follow Jung Woo because he's some kind of meal ticket. Like, Jung Woo's earnest character simply inspires loyalty. That's what makes the enemies to friends dynamic between them work. Because from the beginning, they conduct themselves as men, despite being on opposite sides. And this is also the story with Jung Hyun. Like, he and Jung Woo were on opposite sides because Jung Hyun worked under In Bum. The main difference, however, is that Inbum isn't 2 years older than Jung Woo, so that kind of changes the dynamic between them. Like there's no hierarchy to speak of. Even though Lee Jung Woo is like the head of the first years, he and Jung Hyun maintain the same cordial relationship. So, just the way Jung Woo operates has earned Jung Hyun's utmost respect. And what else is interesting is that they never actually fight. Even though Jung Hyun, despite seeming calm most of the time, like he can go to 0 to 100 in a second. Those two never come to conflict, and we see him lose his temper when Lee Jung Woo is insulted. Like he takes it personally. And that's the thing about respect between men. Like the thing about that is it can cause a man to display a love he does not understand. Like, does Jung Hyun think about why he flies off the handle? No, he doesn't give it a second thought. He simply feels. He feels like his friend is insulted. He feels like the man who earned his respect has been disrespected. He feels like whoever did that has to pay a cost. Why? Because to insult a man that one man respects to that level is to insult that man himself. And this is why many men will fight and die for one. They'd never call it love, but that's what it is. Love born through respect is no less valid than any other kind of love. That feeling in your chest, that's love. Accept it, bro. Accept it. It won't make you gay. Being gay will make you gay. So until you're gay, you're not gay. I promise. So just accept the love, bro. The bro love. Now, regarding Yoon Jae-sik, honestly, I wasn't impressed by him. He second-guessed himself far too often and allowed his right hand to get into his head far too easily. They have a history, so I get it. But at what point do you stop allowing him to direct you to betray your character? Like, when he put your back against the wall with that teacher, you didn't do anything. You should have disciplined him heavily. That lack of confidence and presence is why he couldn't control Jung Woo. He was too far beneath him as a leader. To be frank, the real villain was Jang Sung-tae. He's a scumbag through and through. Fuck that guy. Overall, I love this manhwa, and I really can't tell you exactly how many times I've read it at this point, but I'm sure I'll read it again, and I'll probably have some new thoughts. Who knows? For now, this is Groovy Tony, and you've been tuned into Moriocho Radio. That was Tong. You keep it silky. Groovy Tony. Out. Where's my damn... Hey, you son of a...